Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit late. I'm just finishing up a phone meeting real quick. We'll start in about 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
All righty. Good morning, everybody. How are we today?
Morning, doing well.
Good, good. I had good night's sleeps the last 2 nights, so I'm back and feeling a little bit normal again. Okay, so how was everybody's last couple of days? Did you make any contacts, any calls, all that fun stuff? All right, well, we'll figure it out. Okay, Alex, how was your last couple days? Did you get any contacts, do anything fun?
No additional contacts, but I did go to that listing appointment and I'm working on securing that listing.
How did the listing appointment go?
It went well. I'm pretty sure she's going to want to sign up with me, but she's going through cancer treatments right now, and she doesn't want to put her house in the market until she's done with this latest round.
Sure.
So that would be end of July, and she's kind of resistant to doing anything to fix up the house or to stage. She doesn't want to put in the effort or the money, and she also kind of wants, in my opinion, a little bit more than what her home is worth, but it's a work in process, right?
Yes, absolutely. Did you get up a bunch of like good comps for her to like see like what other homes are going for?
I did, but I think what's lost on her is averages and price per square foot. She's really drawn to the listings that went for above average.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's try to do a little bit of an exercise a little bit later. I think that would be fun. Would you feel comfortable sharing the address of the home with the class?
Yeah.
Okay. And everybody in the class, if I hear you go after Alex's whatchamacallit, I'm going to call your team leader and you'll be out of the office. But I'm kidding. But actually, I'm not. But that's the point of this class. We share with everybody in here, and it's a safe place. All of our leads are safe. All of our clients are safe. And that's the whole point, because we learn from each other the more we're able to share. So very, very good. And Alex, don't worry, nobody's ever done that. Frankly, people are too lazy. All righty. So good stuff, Alex. We'll talk about that in a little bit later, because I think that would be a really great exercise to go over with people. And we'll see if we can, and I have a feeling you did everything right, but this is something that does come up, frankly, with sellers very frequently. My house is the best house. It should be sold at that price, even though I haven't updated my house in 40 years or 20 years or whatever it might be. So always fun to deal with that, but very good. Awesome, Alex. Keep up with it. I'm sure you'll get that signed in no time. All righty, Shannon Schuster, how was your last couple of days? Did you do anything fun? Make any contacts?
Nothing fun. I did make some contacts. I reached out to 24 people and I've heard back from 8 so far.
24 and 8. I like it. You know why I like it? Those are both Kobe Bryant numbers.
Good
Boom.
luck.
Absolutely. The people who got back to you, did you hear anything interesting from them? Did they,
Yeah. One of them used to be one of my clients at Nike, and now he has his own digital marketing agency. And he said that he bought a home in 2018. So he's not really looking to sell, but he is looking at income properties. So
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's a hot lead right there, I'd say.
right.
So good.
Yeah,
Keep it
he's
up.
a really cool guy. So
Well, hey, listen, if he works at Nike, he must be pretty awesome.
yeah, he is.
Very cool. So yeah, keep up with that, dude. And you know what? Nike and Keller Williams both have something in common. We are two of the best trained companies in the United States. So fun
Oh, really?
little tidbit. Yeah, Forbes ranked Nike and Keller Williams as the best trained companies. So that was
Wow, that's cool.
very cool. Yeah. So good stuff, Shannon. Keep it up. Awesome.
Thank you.
Miriam, how about you? Do anything fun? Make any cool contacts?
Mm, to be honest, I didn't make so much those days, but I talked to someone through Instagram and he sent me an email this morning. He said that he's looking for like off-market hotel opportunities. And I'm still trying to figure out if this person is really serious or just wasting my time.
You know, that is always a very difficult thing to determine. I've
Yeah.
found in real estate. I've been working with this lady for the last, oh God, over a year. And I have 3 people who want to buy her house. And all of a sudden now she's going, I don't want to show it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I finally have somebody who's ready to write an offer and you're saying you don't want to show the property now? It's crazy. So that's real estate for you. But
Yeah.
you know, the best thing to do, especially off of internet though. So this person I've known her and she's difficult and it's different set of problems. When we're dealing with people that we find on the internet, is this somebody that you know on the internet, or is this somebody who just direct messaged you, or you direct messaged them, or how did that happen?
To be honest, Jared, I never met this person before, and that's why it makes me like doubt if it's a serious thing or not. But I know that he's a real estate agent as well in UK, and I think he saw that my profile and stuff, and he proposed. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
That was his email. He's like, I need someone in California for off-market hotel opportunities in LA in prime location without operator, minimum 80 rooms, 3.5 and budget up to 600K room. I don't know what 600K
Per
room.
room he means?
What?
Does he mean per room?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe this is so good to be true. And I never saw this person in my life, you know?
Yeah. So let me just see what that comes out to. So he can go up to 48 million for 80 rooms.
I see.
That's a
What would you advise me to do? Should I like propose to him stuff and see what it goes, or?
Well, what I would do is I would look up hotels
Oh,
in some areas, find out the average sales price on those hotels, you know,
okay.
hotels sold, and see if he's full of shit or if he has a real budget.
Okay.
And if he has a real budget and it's realistic, you know, maybe go after it. If it's on the cusp of being realistic or a little bit lowball, you know, ask him, okay, great. So you can do X amount per room. But my question is are you okay with fixers? Are you looking into upgrading the hotel, or do you want something that's turnkey? Because if you're looking for something turnkey, that might be low. Or if you're okay with a fixer, you know, that's something we could look into. But I would also probably ask if you've never dealt with a hotel deal, I would maybe want to bring in a commercial agent who's done those types of deals before and run it
Okay.
by them. And so I would maybe even ask Josh. You're in the Beverly Hills office, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would, what's his name? Oh my God, I'm going blank. Chen. I can't remember his name. Anyway, ask Josh who to talk with. He'll point you in the right direction. His last name's Chen. Oh my God, I can't believe it's a Cree. I know him very well. I don't know why I'm blanking on this. Anyway, I'm sure I'll remember it later. Anyway, talk to Josh though, who you should talk to in the office. Maybe somebody who handles hotel deals frequently, because they'll be able to kind of sniff out if that's real or if it's kind of BS. But
Sounds good.
unfortunately, what he's looking for is somebody to cold call, a bunch of hotels to determine if they're entertaining offers. A lot of commercial properties don't ever actually go on market. They are just off market and they sell that way. So it's normal, but he's also asking you to do a lot of legwork. So I would
Nice.
also ask him, let's clarify the deal. What is the commissions that are involved? What is our split? And is it for you or is it for your client?
I think, Jared, it's for his client because in the end, he sent me something else like, I would like to open up offices in California. I would like for you to offer me some referrals or agencies with a great local market share. But I want to join brand to take their business to the next level.
Okay. Well,
See, it changes everything.
yeah, no, that sounds a little bit interesting. He's looking for some coattails to ride on, it sounds like. But you know what? Who knows? You never know. If it seems a little bit fake, it might be. But I would, proceed with caution, so to speak.
Okay,
Alrighty.
thank you.
Alrighty. Because to be honest, I get like these offer memorandums all the time from these commercial people, and it's just
Yeah.
like you're looking for a unicorn, and I'm not a unicorn hunter. But it could be. Who knows? It's not my forte, so I would say talk to Josh, who he could point you to in the right direction to talk about commercial hotel properties and go from there. Awesome. Good stuff, Miriam. Pashman,
Hi, Jared.
what's up, buddy?
Lynn. So I actually made 10 phone calls and I made 3 conversations.
Hey, nice. How do those combos go? How they go?
It went well. So, the 3 that I had conversations with aren't looking to buy or sell, but they're keeping me in mind and are looking for other people on my behalf if anyone they know is looking. So that's good.
Awesome. I love it. Good stuff. Keep it up, man. And was it a little bit nerve-wracking or did it go a little bit better than expected?
So there are people that I've met before through work. They were previous clients. So I was like, kind of like, do you remember me? Hey, it's Pajman, and I'm in real estate now. So it was very like natural. It didn't feel like I was under a lot of pressure. But I feel like it would be different if maybe I hadn't met them. I don't know.
Sure. Absolutely. Hey, listen, that's why I like going after people that I already know. The convo is a little bit more fluid, so to speak. So good stuff, Pashman. Good shit. All righty. Gabby Hacker, how goes it?
Pretty good. I did not an exact number, but around 40, both on the phone and in person. And I got about like 30, 31-ish.
Wow, that's awesome. How do those 30 conversations go?
Anything in person was a lot easier than over the phone for sure. But nothing like leads or anything, but still like good practice at least.
Very cool. Awesome. Absolutely. Keep it up. And you also, you never know who, you have a conversation with, and then all of a sudden they go off and talk to somebody at a party or somebody at a lunch, or, somebody in their office mentions that they're looking and they go, oh, you know what? So, that's why we like to do those handwritten notes or text messages or emails or whatever, as a follow-up, just to say something like, hey, it was so great to talk to you. Thanks again for listening to, about my real estate endeavors. By the by, it was great, hearing about whatever they said. And again, if you hear of anybody or if you have a need, please let me know how I can be of assistance. And just send that in a text message or something like that. Maybe today or tomorrow or something like that. And you'll be surprised that you may actually find out that somebody goes, you know what? I did talk to somebody. So good stuff. Awesome, Gabby. Keep it up. Felipe, are you new? I think you're new.
Yeah, I'm new. I'm just feeling the, the room. This is my first time on this room, so.
Awesome. Well, just for fun, we're going to go ahead and put some numbers in for you. So the purpose of what we're doing right now is we do something called a daily 10-4. If there's anything that we do in real estate, we need to at least do these 4 things. And these 4 things are making 10 contacts per day. So 10 two-way conversations per day, 10 handwritten notes to the people that or text messages or emails or what have you, to the people that we contacted on the previous days. We want to add 10 people into our CRM or some form of a database so that we can follow up with them. And then finally, we want to do 10 previews of 10 different properties once per week. So it doesn't have to be per day. And in this market, it might even be difficult to find 10 new properties hitting the market. So we're a little bit lax on that one. But the most important one of the daily 10-4 is our contacts, which is the lead generation activities, which is how many people did we reach per day, how many did we call per day, and then we figure out the actuals. So what we're going to do right now is in the left-hand column that we're looking at right now, it says agent, and then one to the right under column B, it says per day, then C says per week. And so basically per day, it's the amount of people who we are going to commit ourselves to having a two-way conversation with per day. And now we're going to find out, though, that even though we're saying we're going to do, and by the by, it could be 2 per day, it could be 5 per day. Our gold standard is 10, but when you're just starting, it could be a little bit less. Or if you're, feeling a little bit ambitious, it can be more. But the point is, let's say I want to contact 10 people per day. I may find out that I might have to call 30 people to reach 10 people. And so that's what comes into the next line, which is D and E, the number of calls that we made and the actual amount that we contacted. This way, we're able to determine how many calls we actually need to be making to make those 10 contacts. Make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So Felipe, how many calls can you commit yourself? How many contacts can you commit yourself per day?
Well, I don't even know like how to start as in getting these contacts.
No worry. It could be.
But I do have, probably like 2 leads that I would reach out to first thing. But other than my own, I don't know where to find them or nothing like that.
Perfect. This is what I recommend for all brand new agents. You ready for this?
Yeah.
It's going to be mind-blowing. So you take your phone. All right. You take your phone. You look at it. So it opens. Sorry. And you go over here. And it's a little green button. You click that. You click that little green button. And then if you have an iPhone, it says contacts right here. You click contacts. And I have, well, Gayu Kaku West LA is not a great contact. But for example, I have Richard. I have Aaron Cohen. I have Malika Abbasi, Jacqueline Abbey, Abraham, AC, Walter Adams. All these people. These are all people I can contact, right? So
Gotcha.
if I have their number, I just go ahead and give them a call.
No matter if they're not in the States?
I would probably focus on people who live in Los Angeles. And if you don't know many people in Los Angeles, then I would say start going out to restaurants, bars. Even if you don't drink, you don't have to drink at a bar. You can just order a water, strike up conversation, get to know people. look out for, meetup.com. For example, you can go to meetups. I think they're limited to 6 people per group for meetups because of the coronavirus, but they're starting them again. You could go meet people. Let's say you like going bike riding, you like running, you like rock climbing. They even have the magic of magic mushrooms meetups where you can do mushrooms and trip on acid or whatever. I'm not recommending that, but my point is there, whatever you're interested in, there's a meetup for that.
Oh,
And
I didn't know that. Okay.
absolutely. So meetup.com, that's a great way to meet new people if you're new to Los Angeles, for example, and to just meet people. And,
Okay.
and by the by, everybody on the call, a contact doesn't necessarily have to be, hi, my name is Jared Medlinski. Do you want to buy or sell real estate? No, it doesn't have to be that. Hey, I'm Jared. Nice to meet you. I love rock climbing too. This is so awesome. I'm glad to be in this. Oh, great. We're talking about rock climbing for 30 minutes. Hey, so you're from Los Angeles. How long have you lived here for? I've only lived here for the last year and a half. Oh, wow, that's really, really cool. Me too. I've only been here for a year. I don't know. This might be different for you or different for everybody. I've lived here my entire life. So I'll just talk for me. Oh, wow, I've lived here my entire life. So what made you move to LA? Oh, my new job. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I work at Google. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, that's so awesome. Like what kind of stuff do you do with Google? Oh, I do IDX stuff and I do whatever. I don't know what tech people do.
I get you.
And then they go, well, what do you do? And I go, well, funny you ask, I'm in real estate. I help people sell or buy houses. Do you know anybody who's interested in buying or selling in real estate? Maybe yourself after you lived here for a while. Boom.
Luckily in Los Angeles, everyone asks, what do you do? So
Absolutely. So my point is it doesn't have to be super convoluted. It could be as simple as having a conversation and, hey, what do you do? So not a
Gotcha.
big deal. All righty. So
This is very enlightening. Thank you.
yes, absolutely. It's taking the veil down. Don't overcomplicate it. I know it seems very daunting. One of my favorite stories that I like to tell about myself is when I first started in real estate, I tried to get myself to go out door knocking. And when I was door knocking, I walked by the front door of this house probably 8 times going, just knock on the door, just knock on the door, just knock on the door. And I just didn't do it. And I was just so scared. And eventually on the 8th time of walking by, I took my business card and I ran to the front door. I put it on the doorstep and I ran back and I ran home. I kid you not. And that was me, my first, couple weeks in real estate. So it's normal to be a little bit nervous about lead generation. It absolutely is. Anybody who feels that way, I get it. I understand it 100%. But eventually you're going to start to realize what's the worst thing that can happen when you're lead generation, when you're lead generating. Oh, I'm not interested. Okay.
Right.
That's the worst thing that's going to happen, literally. And all of a sudden I've learned that door knocking actually is very, very useful of my time. And that's what I do now. I love to door knock. I haven't really done it this year yet because of the coronavirus, but I'm going to start doing it pretty darn soon. That's what I did last year before the virus happened. And I had like $10 million worth of listings. And unfortunately, it didn't really go anywhere because the coronavirus happened, but I'm still talking to all those people who wanted to sell last year. And, so door knocking is a great way. And now I just walk up to strangers' doors and knock on them and go, hey, I'm Jared. Nice to meet you. So don't worry about it. Get out there. If door knocking is not your thing, that's fine. Go ahead, do meetups, call people in your phone book, whatever it is. But the point is, the more people we talk to, the more opportunities we will walk into. So good stuff.
I do have one quick question. I
Sure.
literally just started processing my application for my license yesterday through Alfred. Not sure if I said his name right, but it takes about 3 to 4 weeks, he said, for me to get my actual license. Do you think I should still make these contacts and call, or? Okay, sweet, perfect.
Yep,
I just wanna
absolutely.
get this.
You might want to say I'm getting my license in 3 weeks or whatever. It's in the mail. But yes, I absolutely would say, hey, I just wanted to let you know what's going on in my life. I'm joining Keller Williams Beverly Hills, if you have any real estate needs, or maybe a friend or family member does, please keep me in mind. And in fact, I'd love to be able to be the first person to contact them if you do know somebody. So
Sweet,
that would be a
perfect.
good way. So Felipe, how many contacts can you agree to doing per week?
Per week. Um,
Or per day? Per day. How about per day?
per day, yeah. Um, I I could, I mean, I'm gonna reach for 10, but you know, realistically, I'll probably, if I could find like 8, 7.
Let's do lucky number 7. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome. I love it. Very, very cool. 7 times 7 is 49. Awesome. And we will hopefully check back in with you on Monday to see how it went. Awesome.
Okay.
Good job, Philippe. Pleasure to
Thank
have you on the call. All
Appreciate
righty. Absolutely. Cheers, bud. Okay. Albert Kim,
Yes, sir.
what's up, babe?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I slept for, oh my God, after Monday's class, I stayed up until like 5 p.m. and ended up falling asleep, I don't know, around 6, and woke up at like 8 a.m. the next day. It was amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, it was crazy how tired I was. But I'm good. I'm feeling good. I went rock climbing yesterday. So how was your last couple of days? And how many contacts did you make? Did you do anything fun? See any cool sports cars? Because I have a feeling you like sports cars. We've had a couple combos about those.
Oh yeah, I do like sports cars, but right now, I these days I've been like very tired. I don't know why, but I
Mm.
still make contacts. It was 15, 12, and 0
15, 12.
and 0.
All
And
right.
currently I'm still contacting people right now and looking through my contacts. There are a couple numbers that are not correct, but I'm still trying to talk to them in a way that kind of, maybe I could get some business even though I don't know you type. So it's like cold texting and not cold calling. So that's something
Well,
I'm trying to.
that made me reminded me of something. When we're adding our contacts into our CRM, if we're going to be using a CRM, make sure we go through those contacts after they're added or before they're added to clean them up a little bit. I had a few contacts that were such as a cute girl from bar, Venice, and that was my contact that I had. And I realized that if you do an auto drip campaign where you automatically text them, it takes their first name and last name and automatically puts it into it. So it would have been, I would have sent a text message out that says, "Hey, cute girl from bar in Venice, it's Jared. Are you looking to buy, sell real estate?" Point is, it might not be as bad as that, but make sure we clean up our contacts before we add them into a database. It was something that reminded me when you were saying that you didn't have right numbers. Sometimes you might have the incorrect name. Anyway, so just a little tidbit there. Awesome. No conversations really went anywhere with that, I take it?
Most of the conversations are like, I'll let you know if I know someone, but most of them are like, no, I don't have anyone that I know, or I'm not interested at the moment, or maybe a year from now or something like that. So
Perfect. All righty. Well, good stuff, Albert. Joseph, are you our normal Joseph, or is this a new Joseph?
No, this is the normal Joseph, the one and only.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Tell me, did you do any calls? How did they go?
Yeah, I got my numbers are 20 and 4.
20 and 4.
Yeah, no emails this time, but I am scheduled to close escrow tomorrow. The loan got funded and pretty stoked about that. I double-sided the deal, so I'm gonna get a good amount of money coming my way, hopefully by Friday.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
That is
And I think I
awesome.
got some good leads coming too, so
Good stuff, man.
yeah.
For the class, how did you get that lead?
Well, from the loan that got funded today?
Yeah. The double ending, the seller, the
Oh,
buyer,
that
how
one.
did you get there?
that one was kind of a layup. So it was my sister's duplex in Los Angeles. My sister's a professor at Arizona State, and she's got 2 kids, and she's been renting out there for the past couple of years, and she found a house that she really loved, and so it was in her best interest to get rid of this property quickly so that she had it off her books so that she get a better loan to get her property in Arizona. So she's like, could you please sell it quickly? And so I went to go talk to the tenants, and I let both of them know what was going on. And both of them were like, oh, can we buy it? Can we buy it? And so they both went and got pre-approved. And one was self-employed, so it was harder for her to get pre-approved, but I'm actually working with her today. I talked to her boyfriend this morning, and they're getting all their paperwork over to the lender for their taxes because she's self-employed. She's got a restaurant, but she's not showing such good income, even though she is. I don't know. The lender's working on it, but I'm going to help her get a place too. But the other guy, he had already been looking for a place. He already was working with the lender, and the lender turned out to be awesome. Me and the lender are actually good friends now, and I got a couple people who have reached out to him who's going to try to, make things work for them. So I sold it, so got it to him. He was actually working with somebody, and my mom said to him, "Oh, I'll give you a better deal if you work with Joseph." And so he ended up working with me. I got a chance to double side the deal, and so it was a layup. It was a slam dunk. It wasn't much legwork on that.
Hey, it sounds like legwork to me, man. You asked the questions, and a lot of people are scared to ask the questions. So very, very good, Joseph. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks.
Oh boy, good shit. Good stuff. Excuse me. All righty. So let's get right into it. This one is all about find and win buyers, converting buyer leads to signed buyer agreements. Admittedly, buyer agreements are used very frequently in a lot of different states. So for example, New York, it is 100% used almost for every single transaction. It is very common for somebody to sign up with an agent basically stating, I promise I'm going to work with you, the real estate agent, as a buyer. Now, in California, it has been happening more frequently. Some people are going to be a little bit apprehensive to sign a buyer's agreement, but if they're a first-time buyer, they might not know the difference, and they might not know what is customary and what is not. So we recommend going for the buyer's agreement, excuse me, and just asking for it because it's just a question. And frankly, it makes a lot of sense. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, oh my gosh, it's a pleasure working with. It's going to be a pleasure working with you. First things first. This is a document. It is a buyer's agreement. It basically says that I promise I will devote my time to you, and that you promise that you will work with me exclusively as your real estate agent. As you might know, I don't get paid unless I find you a house. So it gives me more incentive to work a little bit harder on your behalf. And also, it just says that you are going to agree that you will be faithful to me as a buyer. And they'll go, well, of course I'm going to work with you. That I contacted you. I understand, but you know what? Sometimes, unfortunately, some buyers say that, and then they end up, writing an offer with their cousin or something like that. Which I have nothing against your cousin. I just want to, determine if we are really going to be working together or not. And usually they will go, okay, yeah, here you go. Yeah, I'll sign, no problem. And it's great, and that way you have a level of protection. So if they go to an open house, when open houses start again, and the real estate agent who's hosting the open house is like me, and I go, where's your agent? Oh, he's not here. That's interesting. Well, I'm here, and here's some other houses that I could show you today. How about I show you that? Would you write the offer through me? You will? Okay, great. Awesome. And I just took their buyer. But if they have a buyer's agreement in place and they do enter escrow through writing a contract through another agent, you can go, wait, not so fast. I'm actually owed the commission on this because you signed a buyer's agreement with me. And that prevents that other agent from working with your buyer. So very powerful tool, a little bit difficult to enforce sometimes, but it is a powerful tool. And if you ever got into a situation that you had to enforce it, you'd have to make a business decision if it's worth it, because you probably would have to get lawyers involved. But if the commission's big enough, it makes sense. Make sense? Got it? Somebody agree with me.
Got it.
Got it. Great. Thank you. All righty. So today's expectation, we're going to learn how to find buyers, qualify and schedule buyers for a consultation, educate your buyers and set service expectations, learn and practice your buyer consultations, ask for the buyer agreement to be signed, establish the next steps. All righty. Okay. Action reveal. We already did our daily 10-4. We don't have to go over that. Great. We want to make sure we're tracking our numbers when we are going out for lead generation activities. For example, talking to people in line at the grocery store, going to a meetup event, sitting at home and cold calling people in your phone book, using a mojo dialer. So you are cold calling people in a geographic area. For example, Joseph, this would be a great time once you close escrow on that property to cold call that entire neighborhood. Hi, this is Joseph. I just want to let you know we just sold the duplex on blah, 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 Main Street. Just was curious if you or anybody else in the neighborhood is interested in taking advantage of the opportunities presented in today's market. I'm happy to come by and meet with you and do a comparative market analysis. And you might be surprised that they may say yes, and you might be able to get a good double listing situation in a very short period of time. Awesome.
Thanks. I didn't think about that. Thanks for the heads up. I appreciate that.
Pro tip. All righty. Okay. Scripts for cold calling renters and first-time home buyers. And Joseph, this also might be very good for you as well, because while you're cold calling those areas, if they are duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, I don't know if that's what it's called, but anyway, you may actually end up getting a hold of a renter like you did and turn them into a buyer. So for example, Joseph, if we could do this, you can be the awesome real estate agent that you are, and I will be the unsuspecting renter that you end up calling.
Okay. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello, this is Jared.
Hi, Jared. My name is Joseph Fuguzar. I'm with Keller Williams, Beverly Hills. And I was wondering if you'd consider buying a home for yourself or your family sometime in the near future.
Oh, wow.
Owning a home. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I never really thought about that. I mean, I did, but I don't really know the first step to do that. I don't know. It's a little complicated for me.
I totally get that. I work with new home buyers all the time, and they say the exact same thing. But owning a home is a goal for most people, and it continues to be a good investment. Have you wondered about the cost and the process to get into a home of your own?
Oh, actually, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking right now.
Yeah, well, exactly, because I found that some people don't think they can afford to buy their own home, and that they may be able to and that they may be able to buy a home for almost the same amount as they're paying in monthly. Oh, sorry, I'll start over. Well, I'm glad you said that. I found that a lot of people don't think that they can afford to buy a home, and they're very surprised when they find that they can afford a home for next to what they're paying every month in rent.
Whoa,
I would,
that's
yeah.
a good point. I'm interested. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to sit down with you and explain the process of owning your own home. It's no obligation on your part. Would you like to meet tomorrow for about 15 minutes, maybe around 3 o'clock?
You know what? Yeah, I would. That would be awesome. Thank you, Joseph, for the call.
Great. All right, so let me make sure that I have your correct address. Is it 555 Willowbrook Road?
It sure is. I think you cut out there.
So many of my clients, I'll make sure that I bring all of his information, and I look excited to meet you and I look forward to working with you. I'll talk to you soon, Jared. See you tomorrow at 3.
Thank you, Joseph. See you then. Cheers. Bye.
All
Awesome.
right. Bye-bye.
Joseph, I'm sure you could see how that could work. And I bet you, maybe your conversation with those renters didn't exactly go as planned at like this, but I'm pretty sure similar was the conversation. Listen, we're putting the home on the market, blah, 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 blah. Are you interested in, possibly purchasing? And they said yes. You gave them what's called right of first refusal. And then they go, absolutely. And so this is a great script, by the by, that you could use for potential renters to turn them into buyers. Obviously, like, for example, when Joseph was reading it, it's a little bit wordy. So, reading it verbatim on the script might not be the best thing to do, but if you sit down and you practice this script long enough, you will be able to not use a script and just go ahead and kind of hit the points of the script, so to speak. Does that make sense, everyone? And that way you're kind of sounding a little bit more natural and it's more of a conversation. So for example, Joseph, let's do that
Yeah.
phone call again. I'm not
Can we
even
try again? Okay.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not going to read the script, but I'm going to do the script in my own language to you. And if you want to
Sounds good.
throw in a couple of conversations in there to throw me off like I did. All righty. Ring, ring, ring.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, is this Joseph?
Yes, this is Joseph. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Joseph. This is Jared Medlinski with Keller Williams, Beverly Hills. I actually got your number because it shows that you're one of the renters at 645 blah, 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 Main Street.
Yeah. How'd you get my number?
Well, actually, I got it from the landlord, if I'm being completely honest with you. But listen, we're actually looking at
Okay.
selling property. And because I know that you're one of the renters there, I wanted to ask you, have you ever thought of becoming a homeowner?
Yeah, I have actually thought about being a homeowner, but I don't know if I can afford it right now. I don't know if my credit's where it needs to be, honestly.
Well, if there was interest, would you be willing to talk with the lender just to determine if you would be able to prove for that? Because it's a really easy process.
I've talked to other realtors before and they say the same thing. I always wonder though, is it going to affect my credit to sit down and talk with a lender? Because I know hard inquiries can mess with your credit.
No, not really. Not as much as it would for if you were looking for a car. It's not a super hard hit. If there is a slight ding to it, it corrects itself within a month or two. So it's not really a huge deal. And plus, a lot of times you can speak with a lender without them doing a full credit report and just theoretically determine if it's even worth your time to go through the full pre-approval process. But some points that I would like to bring up to you is a lot of people, their main goal is to be a homeowner. And you would be very surprised to find out with the interest rates the way they are today, you could likely own the same your property that you're living in currently for the same monthly mortgage as you are renting right now. Does that make sense?
Really?
Absolutely.
Really? Yeah. I mean, it does make sense. Yeah.
So what I think we should do in the next, maybe today, if you're free, I have 3:00 p.m. open and 5:00 p.m. open, or we could also do this tomorrow. I'd like to come by, meet with you, just have a quick discussion, and then also set you up with a really awesome lender. They'll be able to pre-approve you fairly quickly. And if it all makes sense to you, instead of being a renter, you could be the owner.
Well, I mean, I have been looking to buy a home, but I do work a lot, so I'm not going to be able to meet with you today. Could you do tomorrow early morning?
Tomorrow early morning sounds great. 10 o'clock or earlier than that, 8 o'clock?
Can we do 9 o'clock? 10 o'clock is actually when I leave for work.
Let's do 8 o'clock. That sounds good.
Okay.
All righty, I'll meet you there. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Here's my email. Other than that, I'll have my lender on the line with us and we can go over some scenarios without giving your credit history. And if the scenarios make sense, we'll go down the next step.
Wow, thanks. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Awesome. Looking forward to meeting with you, Joseph.
All right, great. I'll see you tomorrow.
And so granted, I think that the script was a little bit better than what I just did right there. I kind of went off a little bit somewhere that I didn't really need to. But the point is you can easily take the main points of the script and put it into your own language and turn it into a cold calling, situation. And you could, turn these renters into clients, frankly. So good stuff. All righty, let's do renter option 2. If I could have Albert Kim read renter option 2.
All right. Hi, Jared. My name is Albert with Keller Williams Realty, and I was wondering when you'll be ready to stop paying your landlord and start paying yourself.
Oh, I don't know. Sounds pretty gimmicky.
Well, may I explain to you?
Sure, why not?
I help people buy homes, and I found that a lot of people don't think they can afford to buy their own home. and that they may be able to buy a home for almost the same amount as they are paying in monthly rent.
Interesting. I like it.
Well, I would love to sit down with you and explain the process of owning your own home. There's no obligation on your part. Would you like to meet tomorrow for 15 minutes?
Why not? Sounds good. You sound like a nice guy. I'll meet with you.
Well, how does 3 o'clock sound?
3 o'clock sounds great. Let's do it.
All right, I'll see you at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Awesome. And so, yeah, so this is a very different approach. This is propositioning them with a question to kind of reel them in. And, you know, for some people that would work. My personality, I wouldn't use that script personally, but for other people, this is like the best script in the world. So just so you know, there are other ways, there are multiple ways to skin a cat, so to speak. All righty, newlyweds. Who wants to do newlyweds? All right, I'm gonna pick somebody. Gabby H, you're right underneath Albert Kim, so I'm picking on you.
Okay.
So ring,
Call.
ring.
Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, Jared. My name is Gabby Hacker with Keller Williams Realty. I'm calling today first and foremost because I heard you recently got married. And I wanted to congratulate you. And second, to see if you had considered buying a new home or if you already own a home.
Huh. Wow, how did you find that out? Let's just say the newspaper. I don't know.
The newspaper.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, yeah. You know, my parents took out a big thing in the LA Times. That's funny. How'd you get my number? Spokio. Just say Spokio.
It's public record.
Okay, fair enough. Oh well, darn. I am in the yellow pages. Anyway, yeah, Gabby. Actually, funny that you mentioned we're just starting to look, and I've been going on Zillow, and it's overwhelming.
Yeah, I totally understand. I would love to sit down with you and explain the process of owning your own home. It's no obligation on your part. Would you like to meet tomorrow for 15 minutes?
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Can I just check with my wife to see when she's available?
Of course.
Okay, but I think 10 o'clock would work. Is that fine?
Yes, that works great.
Okay, great.
And because you're a newlywed, you typically know other newlyweds or others getting married who haven't bought a home yet. And you'd be doing them a great service by introducing us and letting me talk to them for 5 minutes to share with them the opportunity of owning their own home.
Yeah, that would be great. If I think of anybody, I'll let you know.
Great, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Great. Okay, so newlyweds, that is a niche little market right there. Who typically buys a new house? A newlywed. It happens all the time. Typically for me, when I contact newlyweds, I would usually go through a friend of a friend. If that makes sense. Like, you know, I see my friend post something on Instagram about some wedding that they attended. And I'll go like, oh my gosh, that looks like such a great wedding. How do you know the bride and the groom? And, you know, if they say that they know them pretty well, I'll be like, oh, wow, that's great. Hey, listen, you know, since I'm in real estate, I just wanted to ask, a lot of times when people get married, they buy a house pretty soon after. Do you think you'd feel comfortable if I contacted them and asked if they were interested in buying? You know, I'd love to be able to help them. And sometimes they'll go yes, and sometimes they'll go no. But if they say yes, I'll go ahead and I'll make that phone call. And I'll tell them that while I'm calling them. I'll be like, hey, listen, your friend, blah, 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 told me to give you a call. First of all, I just wanted to say congratulations on getting married. Oh, wow, thank you so much. And by the by, when people get married, they're on like such a high that they're very, very easy to work with. And you go, listen, most newlyweds, you know, start thinking about buying a house, you know, after they get married. If you're in the process, I'd love to sit down with you and give you some tips on how that process goes. And then also just to tell you a little bit about myself and my successes in helping newlyweds find their dream home. Sound good? And they're like, yeah, sounds great. Okay, great. And we set up an appointment. I've done that twice this year, and each time, no, not each time, but one time we did close a transaction. The other one, we almost got in an escrow, but we had to pull out for unfortunate reasons, there was a death in the family and they just weren't able to do it. But we're looking again. So this does work. And you'd be surprised at how many buyers you could potentially pick up by going after newlyweds. All righty, so let's get our head in the game. Clearly establishing the process of finding and buying a home and working with your buyer is a coordinated team, is the best way to work effectively and efficiently to close as many buyers as possible. Working with buyers is relatively simple, inexpensive, and quick. Finding buyers is simple. It's not hard to find buyers to work with. They visit open houses and they look for properties online using your KW app. Buyers are everywhere at all times, essentially raising their hand saying, work with me. Servicing buyers is inexpensive. Buyers are more time consuming than costly. Apart from the gas that you'll put in your car and show homes, your expenses will be low. Earning with buyers is quick. If you do it right in a great buyer transaction, you can help find a person a home and write an offer within 1 day. Working efficiently with buyers is your key to generating income quickly. Converting your buyer leads with a signed buyer agreement is an important step in the process. Each step of the process requires you to build and cultivate the relationship. So with the buyers, we are past the lead point and we are in the appointment setting category. So now, why is this little diagram, this picture of a funnel, my favorite funnel picture in the world? Does anybody know? What's the first thing in the funnel that we need to get a payday?
Leads.
Right, exactly, leads. Leads, it all starts with leads. The more leads we get, the more appointments, the more agreements, the more contracts, and the more paydays we get. So we must be lead generating always, 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 always. And then second most important is setting up appointments. I can, talk to people about, buying or selling a home all day, but unless I set the appointment, I'm not going to get an agreement or a contract or a payday. So good stuff. All right, make it happen. Converting buyer leads. So working with buyers can be fun and exciting, touring houses and helping them find their next dream home. The process of working with buyers can be refined into 3 steps: find buyers, qualify buyers, sign buyers. So 1, find buyers. Remember, your number 1 job is lead generation. In this case, it's lead generation for buyers. After all, you can't work with buyers if you don't have any buyers. So National Association of Realtors 2014 profile of home buyers and seller statistics shows that 88% of buyers purchased their home through a real estate agent. 40% of buyers found their agent through a referral from a friend or family. So remember, when we are looking for new clients and we're just starting in real estate, reach out to friends and family because that's where you're likely going to find a lot of buyers. 12% of buyers used an agent they had used in the past. So obviously, if you're just starting, that's not going to be your situation, but that's also a very, very telling statistic there. 9% of buyers found an agent visiting an open house. So right off of that, we can see that reaching out to either our past clients, people that we meet at open houses, and also reaching out to our friends and family, we have a huge pool of potential buyers right there. That is huge. And so that's something that we should keep our eye on in whenever we're lead generating, and be very, very purposeful when we're talking to our friends and family, when we're talking to past clients, and also when we're hosting open houses. Awesome. So what are some other ways we can find buyers? Anybody have any ideas how we can find buyers?
Open houses.
Sure. Aside from open houses, though, aside from open houses, family and friends.
Advertising, referral services, cold calling.
Absolutely. Cold calling would be a big one. Online marketing, Facebook ads. Sometimes you don't have to have a listing to advertise yourself. You might want to make a little tiny short video on, steps, 10 steps in the home buying process. Oh, excuse me. 5 steps in the home buying process, something like that. Whatever. Maybe you have a listing that you're marketing. you can do a buyer focused listing video of your property. Hey, it's Jared Medlinski. I have this house for sale in Beverly Hills. I just wanted to let everybody know that it's awesome, and give me a call if you want to set up an appointment. Make that a post on Instagram, boost it, and see how many people you get calling you. Definitely. What are some other ways? What are some other ways?
Could look at you could look at some listings that are in the office, and try to, put those on your social media. And especially since we can't do open houses right now, and just see, even if people may not like that listing, they might say, oh, if he's selling these type of homes, maybe he can get me the type of home I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And in fact, you can cold call using somebody else's listing if they're okay with it. You can go, hi, I was just calling in the neighborhood. Our office has a listing in Santa Monica off of I don't know, 6th Street or whatever. And I'm just calling because our records show that you live in the area. Are you or anybody you know looking to move in the area right now? I'd love to show them this property. So you could use other people's listings as a form of lead generation. Absolutely. So good stuff. Also, what I would say is people, when you're at the grocery store, you can start conversations. Whenever you are out and about at a bar, for example, you can probably start up a conversation about the home buying process. All fun stuff. Okay, lead generation. Doing your daily 10-4 is an excellent opportunity to find buyers and buyer referrals. Always ask, I just want to see if you have any real estate plans coming up that I can help you with. I appreciate you giving that a thought. If you do come across someone, will you promise to let me know? So for example, after we ask for the business from them, we want to follow up with asking if they know anybody who's potentially in the market. All righty. Open houses. As a new agent, open houses are easy and fun. Why are open houses, everybody on the call, why are open houses so great for finding buyers?
Because they just walk right in.
They're coming to you. Absolutely. And what did they already do? Potentially, more likely than not. They probably did something before they decided to look in that price range, I'm assuming.
Got pre-qualified?
Oh my gosh, hell yeah. They're already ready to go. They got a pre-qual letter. It's right there with them in their hand. So you, not only did you have the buyer come to you, you had an approved buyer come to you, and you're ready to write contracts right on the spot. So open houses are very, 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 very successful. The other good thing about open houses is we have a thing called a sign-in sheet. So when you get people to sign in, you're getting their contact information, and you could very quickly and easily put them into your CRM so you can continue to follow up with them. In some smart CRMs, you'll be able to identify that they're looking at a certain neighborhood and set them up on a monthly or weekly nurture of new properties that are hitting the market, stuff like that. So good stuff. And holding an open house can be broken down into these steps: preparation, marketing, connecting with visitors and asking them for their contact information, lead cultivation, and conversion follow-up. So again, get their contact info, host a great open house, then follow up with them. After each open house, what I like to do when I get home later that evening is go through everybody who signed up and just ask them, hey, this is Jared Medlinski. We met at the open house. I just wanted to call and ask if you had any feedback on the property. And if they say, you know what, it wasn't for us, I hated it, blah, 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 blah. Hopefully I already had that conversation while we were at the property. But if we didn't, because we had a really busy open house, I'm able to then go, well, what are you looking for? And then I have my little sheet of houses that are in the area that are also for sale. And they're going, oh, I need something with a yard. Great, that's that one. I need something with a yard and a pool. Okay, that's that one, but not this one. And more importantly, it needs to have whatever. And so ultimately I found 2 properties on my list that fit that criteria. I asked them, have you seen these 2 properties? No, you haven't. Great. Are you working with an agent? No, I'm not. Great. Would you like to set up an appointment to view? Yes, I am. Great. Do you have a buyer's agreement signed with that agent? No, you don't. Great. Do you want to set up a time to view? so on and so forth. And then if they say, oh yeah, I do have a buyer's agreement signed with them, great. Well, here are the address of the 2 properties. If for any reason you decide to no longer work with that agent, please feel free to give me a call. And those are all great ways to pick up buyers at open houses. And in fact, at my open houses, I have ended, I don't know, probably about like 1 or 2 a year. So it's great. I love double ending. It's awesome. Okay, so let's watch a video, watch a master find the motivated. Hold on, I need to get into my Connect. Hold on. Any questions so far on finding buyers and converting them into clients?
Yeah, you were talking about cold calling off of other listings in your office.
Mhm.
When you said get permission, what do you mean by that?
Ask the listing agent, hey, I noticed that you have this listing. Would you mind if I called people to find buyers using your listing? And they might
So if
go,
I,
they might go, what do you mean by that? And you go, I mean, I will literally call people and say, this house just hit the market. Do you or anybody you know in the neighborhood have any interest in going to take a look at this property? Or are you looking in the market to buy, sell, or invest, whatever? And more likely than not, the listing agent will say, yeah, absolutely.
so if there was a recently sold listing and I wanted to call the neighborhood and said, you know, our office just had this listing, it's sold for this much. You know, are you thinking about selling anytime soon? Do you think that would be stepping on that listing agent's toes?
Yeah, so I would ask the listing agent first. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I would run my script by them as well. I would say, listen, I'm going to give you full credit, you know, for the listing. But the issue with that, however, I would be okay with somebody doing that for while the listing was on the market versus after it sold. I would say no. And the reason why I would say no is, why would you say it's my listing? You would probably, you know, not say it's your listing, but you'd kind of walk around it. You know what I mean? So I would say, no, you cannot do that. Unless you're going to say, hi, Jared Medlinski sold this house for this much money. Are you looking to buy or sell? Then you could go ahead and do that. But I don't think anybody would. But if you, for example, were just looking for a buyer for my listing that is on market, I'd have no problem with you doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
Hey, Jared.
Yes.
I just bought not me, but I just helped a guy buy a condo, and he comes up to me last weekend and he shows me a card for this guy who says, oh, I'm the top listing agent for this condo. And he shows on the flyer handout 4 condos that are sold, including in that same condo building, including the one that I helped my client buy. And he had the price on there, and it totally looked like he's the one that sold it. And I didn't know that. He probably should have called me. You know what I mean? Because now it looks like he sold all 4 of those listings, and I'm pretty sure he didn't sell any of those listings. And he just said he's the top, you know, listing agent for that condo building. You know,
How did he word it as recent top agent for
yeah.
this building, and then
Mhm.
underneath it says recently sold listings.
Exactly.
So it's technically, he's not saying it's theirs, it's his. He's just
Yeah,
making
he's not saying.
it seem like it. So yeah, you know, listen, a lot of agents do that. I've done it personally. I go around the neighborhood and I talk about recent sold properties. And if somebody asks, did you personally sell these properties? I always will respond, no, if I didn't. If I did, then yes. But if I did not, I will respond, no, I did not personally sell those properties. However, I am the #1 listing agent in this area, and I just wanted to bring you some information that I thought you would find valuable. Something like that. But listen, I don't do that often because of exactly what you just said. And if somebody ever did ask, like, wait, did you sell these properties? And I go, no, they might be like, oh, you're just a con artist. So I don't really do that too often. I will usually, for example, use recent sales in my office, if that makes sense. And I'll word it that way.
So could Alex do that? Could he say, oh,
yeah, absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, it's public record. So, I mean, you're just sharing public record information. So you're not necessarily doing anything illegal. So for example, whenever I do those types of marketing materials, I'll do interested to find out how much your home is worth, recent sales in your neighborhood, blah, 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 blah. I didn't say I sold them. I didn't say who sold them. I just said, are you interested in finding out how much your home is worth, recent sales in the neighborhood? There's nothing wrong
Okay.
in that. Yeah.
So marketing materials is different than cold calling then?
Yeah, I would say so. A little. It's
Okay.
there are a lot of these like fine little lines that you kind of have to dance around, so to speak.
Okay.
But you never want to present yourself as a listing agent for a property you had nothing to do with, if that makes sense. And in that marketing material, I'm not saying that I'm the listing agent. I'm just saying recently sold properties in your neighborhood. So it's very big difference. Versus I'm the #1 agent in the building. I sold these properties, which I guarantee you that that agent didn't even actually use that terminology. I'm sure they said #1 agent in this area, recent sold properties.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. I have a picture of it. I can send it to you. That's exactly what he did, like that.
It's borderline. It's borderline, I would say. I would get a little bit irked. I might even give that agent a call and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
I did call him, but just because he put the price that I sold it for wrong, he like upped it by like 50 grand. And I told him, but he said that he had already sent out a revised letter that it was somebody on his team that did the misprint.
Yeah, sounds like bullshit, but it is what it is. But yeah. Unfortunately, there's a lot of agents like that out there. It sucks. But we try to go with integrity and not be like that agent. But alrighty. So we're gonna watch a video real quick, and then if we have any questions, let's have a little discussion about it. Any comments or what we call aha moments, like light bulb moments. So let's watch this real quick and let's have a convo.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Pollack, and I'd like to share tips on how to find the motivated. What do I mean by find the motivated? Turning a warm lead into a closed client. The first tip is when you find someone, you want to ask for the business. Let's say you're at a party and your friend is pregnant. You can always say, hey, it looks like you need a bigger house. Or you're out and about and you see this big, beautiful diamond ring and not the full wedding ring. You can say, hey, it looks like you just got engaged. Congratulations. When are you buying your next house? And then I always ask, when are you ready to buy? When are you looking to move into your new house? What are those underlying tips of motivation that will tip you off to having a client that's ready to do business now versus a year from now? Tip number 2, ask for the appointment. Have a calendar or your smartphone ready to say, I have availability tomorrow at 2 or the next day at 4. Which one would work for you? Book the appointment when you meet someone who's ready to do business. Tip number 3, so now you've got the appointment, you want to pre-qualify that appointment by using scripts. Ask questions such as, have you met with the lender that I referred you to the other day? To make sure that they have their price range in mind when they're meeting with you to buy a home, and that you know they're able to sell a home or that they're motivated by a desire to have another outcome, like maybe they're relocating or they're downsizing their home. There has to be some motivation level to continue forward with the appointment. Tip number 4, use embedded commands. When you get in front of the people face to face at your appointment, you want to be talking embedded command language, such as, when you're comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, then we'll sign the contract tonight. If you're using that language throughout your hour or half an hour appointment, they'll be more comfortable when they get to the end and they'll sign that contract and then you can move forward. The last step is you've signed them up and now it's your goal to get a referral. When you're in conversation with them on the phone, in the car, at the closing, use questions. Who else do you know that's looking to buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I can call today? If you keep saying this throughout the process, you'll find yourself turning more of your current clients into referral business that will generate lots of easy sales for you. So go out there and find the motivated and have a great day.
Awesome. So what do y'all think about that?
Amazing.
Oh. Thank you. Yes, absolutely amazing. But yes, you know, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Like I was saying earlier, you know, she's very good. I think she mentioned, I was looking down for a second, but I think this is the one where she says, if somebody has like a diamond ring or something, or looks like they're having a baby, like whatever. I think, did she mention that in this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did. She did.
I've seen this a few times, as you can tell. Be careful, guys, commenting on certain, you know, appearances of women. Just throwing it out there. Don't, if it looks like she, you know, is about to have a baby, maybe ask somebody first. Just throwing that caution to the wind. I heard an agent once was at a party and was like, "Oh my gosh, you're about to have a baby," and they were not about to have a baby, and that was very awkward for them. And it made me laugh a lot. So just keep that in mind. It's been a weird year. So a lot of people have gained weight. So anyway, let me get where's that stuff? I want the Ignite back on. Okay, there we go. So very good. Yes. So getting leads and stuff is not super complicated. You just have to always remember the back of your mind when you're in social situations. I'm a real estate agent. I need to ask for business at some point in the conversation. Alrighty. So do your market research. You are an information business. As you are prospecting, for buyers, you will be asked questions about the market. Be prepared. What should your response be when a buyer says this? Okay, I'm going to fire question some of these off to you all, and we're going to see what your response would be in that situation. There is no right or wrong answer. There might be better ones, but there's nothing right or wrong. Okay, let's see. Let me get my screen open a little bit. What is available in my price range? What would you say to that person, Miriam?
You should tell me what's your budget and I can do my research and I can find something that suits your price range.
Perfect. So first we need to determine what their price range is. And then also what's another way of asking, how could we determine what their real price range is?
Ask them if they've been pre-qualified. Oh, sorry.
Boom. I have a feeling Gabby and Joseph are both saying the exact same thing. So yes, when we're talking to that person, so what's in my price range? Well, have you talked with a lender yet? No. Great. So first things first, let's talk with a lender, and then we'll determine exactly what your price range is. And the best part about it is they'll review your finances to determine what you can comfortably afford monthly as a mortgage payment. And then from there, we can set up a search for you. And then if they say, yes, I am pre-approved, be like, great. Well, what are you pre-approved for? And I'll go ahead and take a look and send you some properties. And that way we can figure that question out. Very good. Awesome answer, Miriam. I don't think I could afford to buy a house. Albert Kim, what would we say to a person that says, I don't think I could afford to buy a house?
How do you know that?
That's a good one. How do you know that? Well, I don't know. I just feel like I can't. How do I figure out what I can afford?
Have you spoken to a lender yet?
Boom. No, I haven't, Albert Kim. Do you know a good lender I could talk to?
Yes, his name is Jared Malinsky.
Oh, shit. Well, no, I'm not. But I will take your client for you. No, I'm kidding. But yes, absolutely. That's what you would do. You would say, oh, well, we just need to have a convo with a lender. No big deal. No sweat off our brow. Okay, I'm thinking about waiting until next year. What would you say to that, Shannon Schuster?
I would say the market is really hot right now and interest rates are low. So I would think about doing that now and not waiting until next year.
Absolutely. And another way that we could probably say that is I understand. So what are you apprehensive about this year versus next year? What's making you wait? And then they say something like, well, I'm expecting prices to go down. Well, that's interesting. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, did you know that if interest rates went up by 1% and a home's price went down by 10%, it would be pretty much just a wash?
Mhm.
So for example, if you actually, we could actually do this math. I mean, I'm not going to do it right now. I'm not smart enough. I am smart enough. I know how to do it. But the point is that, for example, you get an interest rate at, right now, let's say it's at 3%. And then all of a sudden, the interest rate goes up by 1%. You'd have to have over a 10% decrease in purchase price to make up for that 1% difference. And then in the reverse of that, you would have to, it's actually really interesting. So even though we have a very high market as far as asking price, you would need a 10% reduction in purchase prices to make up for a 1% increase in interest rates. Does that make sense? So the point is that right now, in fact, it's probably cheaper for somebody to buy a house because of the low interest rates versus waiting for a correction in the market. And by the by, when have we seen a 10% drop in home prices in like a month or 2 months or maybe even a year? It's actually pretty rare for that to happen. You'd have to have a really big bubble burst. And a lot of people are talking about that could be the situation we're in, but it just doesn't seem like that. It seems something more likely would happen would be a slight market correction where the favor of buyers and sellers just kind of evens out. And in Los Angeles, even when the market crashed, it didn't do this. It just kind of went like that and stayed kind of level. So LA's market is very, very, it's kind of like a microcosm of an economy. It doesn't really happen in other places, but our home sales prices are not really affected like, some areas in the country, mainly because we have so much money in this area in Southern California. There's a lot of private wealth out here. So even if some areas are really affected, the buying is still going to stay relatively strong in LA. Very, very good. Okay, I can afford about, hold on. I can afford about $1,500 per month for my living expenses, and I'd like to live in blankety blank neighborhood of high price homes the buyer cannot afford. Okay, so let's say let's change that a little bit. I can afford about $3,000 per month for my living expenses, and I'd like to live in Beverly Hills. What would we say to that, Gabby Hacker?
Not sure.
Aha. So we have somebody who is, well, kind of overstretching themselves. What could we do? We could probably show them some other areas that are close by to Beverly Hills that might be closer to their price range. So for example, if I have somebody who's going, Jared, I really want to live in Beverly Hills. I can afford about $3,500 a month mortgage. What could we do? Well, can I ask you, why do you want to live in Beverly Hills? Oh, just because, location, it's great. My office is around there and, plus it's Beverly Hills. It's, really nice. Okay, I understand that. Have you ever thought of like living in, I don't know, West Los Angeles, which is right outside Beverly Hills? Oh, yeah. I mean, that area could work. Okay, so let's look around over there. And so my point is we can always point them in another direction, and just try to show that there may be more options than they're actually thinking of. So, for example, you could find I don't know, for like 1.2 million, you can get a 3-bedroom condo and about 2,200 square feet with 20-foot tall ceilings in Century City. And how do I know this? Because I grew up over there. And I know those properties very, very well. Along Beverly Glen, you can actually find a lot of condos between Pico and Wilshire along that strip that are not full service buildings. They are relatively priced well. And a lot of them have like 20-foot tall ceilings, and it really almost feels like you're living in a house. They're so big, the condominiums. And mainly because when those were built, they were built in a different time when they were trying to like say, hey, condos are just like living in a house, and they actually built them bigger. So just a little bit of tidbit that we could think about when we're talking with these people. Okay,
Hey,
awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
What if they're persistent about getting that location, even though they can't afford it? Then what would you say in the nicest way possible?
We'd have a realistic conversation. And then maybe we would start asking, well, do you have any family members who can help you with the down payment? Or do you, and start looking for, funds in other areas, essentially. I wouldn't want to write them off completely because you never know. Or maybe I would say, great, I'll show you these properties that are out of your price range if you agree to go take a look at this property with me as well. Make sense? So we're kind of like, great, let's look at those properties and then find another property that's 10 times better than those properties, just in a different location at a better price point. And I've done that with people. Those are difficult clients to work with, admittedly, Albert. And the person that I did end up working with, and to be honest, actually, I take that back. If they really are animate about living in Beverly Hills, you can find properties in Beverly Hills for very cheap. It's not difficult. You're just going to be looking at condominiums, and they're going to be on the smaller side and a very large building. So for example, right next to the Four Seasons, actually, there's a condominium building. Now the HOA is a little bit expensive, but they were selling in like the 600s, 700s. And granted, they were about the size of a hotel room, and they're pretty small units, but my client ended up buying there, and I think they got it for $19,000 or something like that. This was a couple of years ago, so it's probably worth more now. But yeah, they bought into it, and they're happy. So you can find it, but you're really going to be limited, like very, very limited. And now, Albert, I'm sure you're going to say, but what if they say that they don't want that and they want a bigger place? Then you're going to have a very difficult conversation with them, and you're just going to be like, I'm really sorry, but you have to be realistic. But let's hope that we don't have to do that with those people, because hopefully they'll see reason, and they'll agree to looking at other places. But yeah, sometimes there's no magic bullet, for certain people, and that's okay. All righty.
By any chance, sorry, and by any chance, did you go over number 4? What can you help me find investment properties?
Oh, I'm sorry, one more time.
Did you do number 4? I haven't heard. I don't know if I was paying attention or not, but for the question or response, can you help me find investment properties? Did we go over that yet?
Oh no, I totally skipped over that. Can you help me find investment properties? What would we say for can you help me find investment properties?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I can, absolutely. The only thing I would add is what type of investment properties. Are you looking for, multi-units, or are you looking for a single family home or a condominium that you could rent out? Please help define what an investment property is. And from there, the answer is yes. It's not too complicated for that one. Make sense?
Thank you.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. I'm going to skip that. Market statistics. Okay, so obviously it's very, very, very important to know what's happening in the market and to be on top of market stats. Now, the beautiful thing is we can be super accurate with our apps and our phones and all that kind of fun stuff. So yes, while it's very important to be doing our daily 10-4 and previewing 10 properties every single week, it is also very easy to look up that info very, very fast on the fly. So I'll briefly go over this. We want to make sure the list price to sales price ratios are at our top of mind. We want to make sure that we understand that. If people are if it is a seller's market and we know that people are selling their houses for over asking, that's very important to know. We need to know that when we're working with our clients. Why? we don't want to waste our time. We don't want to waste their time. If they're continually lowballing offers and you know that they have 15 offers on the table, why are you going to waste time writing up that offer? You might want to once or twice just to show them like proof. Hey, we offered that amount. I went to bat, I went to battle for you to try to get it, but ultimately it sold for $200,000 above asking price. And then they go, oh shit. And you're like, yeah, I wasn't kidding. It's a really tough market right now. And maybe that person will kind of have a come to Jesus moment, so to speak, and go, you know what? Yeah, okay, you're right, Jared. We need to look at properties that are $100,000 below our max budget. That way, if we do write an offer, we can be competitive. Make sense? Okay. Average days on market in a different price ranges. So yeah, we want to know average days on market. Why? Because we need to know how quickly we need to act. For example, if like right now things are on the market for like a week and then they're sold, we want to make sure we're on top of that and keeping that in mind when we're working with our buyers. Number of homes on the market in different price ranges. We definitely want to know that. And price trends. What's happening? Is it going up? Is it going down? What should we expect? All very important stuff. Okay, local information. We should know vaguely what school districts we are looking in. Granted, it is up to our buyers. I will always say, listen, according to this data, it says that this house is a part of this school district. I highly recommend, if we write an offer, however, in the investigation period, to call the school district and confirm with them that this house falls within their jurisdiction. Why is that? You don't want to be sued for getting somebody into a house and that property is not in the school district of their choosing. So that could be a sticky situation there. So you want to put the onus on them and say, I'm going to recommend that you confirm this. The information that I have is deemed reliable, but it's not 100%. Some county lines draw things out differently sometimes. I highly recommend double checking, period. And there we go. Local resources is a little bit easier. That you can figure out pretty easily. All right.
Hey, Jared,
Yes.
is there any way to find out how quickly like equity goes up in a certain area?
So equity is going to be different for everybody's situation. It depends on their loan. And yes, you can say home prices are rising in certain areas. But for example, if somebody does 5% down on their loan versus 20% down on their loan, their amortization rate is going to be different. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, I guess I was talking about like how quickly the home prices go up in the area. I guess I should have used equity.
Value is different than equity.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, value we can touch upon. Absolutely. We can do that by market statistics, which like 10K InfoSparks is a great resource for that. Through your MLS, you can find out what's happening with the value of homes in that given area.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. Okay, this is having us breaking up into teams. We're not going to do that, obviously, because we are on a Zoom. Market statistic, local markets used, average sales price, days on market. We're going to skip this one a little bit, but we should try to do that on our own. Get onto the MLS, look at 10K InfoSparks for market trends, and go to town on that. All righty. Qualify and schedule buyers for the consultation. Armed with market knowledge, your next step is to qualify buyers and schedule an appointment for your buyer consultation. Whether you are speaking to someone in your sphere, a referral who has expressed an interest in buying, responding to a buyer sign call or inquiries from an open house, or making contact with a buyer looking for properties from your website, you have two goals. Qualify them. Are they an actual buyer? Get the appointment for the buyer consultation. Why qualify first? Why should we qualify first? What is important about qualifying a buyer first?
Because if we don't do that first after they get pre-qualified, the criteria might change a lot.
Yes, absolutely. We don't want to show them houses that they're never going to be able to afford. You know what I mean? Somebody just tells me, yeah, I could afford $8 million. Great. Those houses are going to look very different from the houses that I'm going to show them if we find out they can only approve for $1 million. So we want to make sure we're not showing them things that are outside of their price range. Another reason is you don't want to waste too much of your time. If there's no way that they're going to be able to purchase, don't waste your time. Also, are they a real buyer? They might just be calling because they're actually thinking about selling their house. Hey, I was just wondering about this property. What can we go take a look at it? Well, yes, I was just curious. Are you pre-approved? Oh no, actually, to tell you the truth, we're their neighbors down the street. Oh, interesting. Are you planning on buying another house? Well, no, we were actually selling. Well, yes, eventually, but we were actually thinking of selling our property, and we wanted to see how our house looks in comparison to this house. Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Come on by, and then after we can go to your house, and I can take a look at it and give you a comparative market analysis. So the point is, whenever we're scheduling and qualifying buyers, we want to know what we're dealing with. We don't want to go into it blindly. So these are all very, very important things. What are some other reasons why we want to qualify them first? Could be
You can
anything.
find out how far out they are from actually buying.
Yeah, how much time? What's your time frame? I'm sure we're going to respond to somebody very differently if they have 3 weeks to move versus I got 6 months to a year. Actually, I got 20 years. Really, I don't really have to do anything. But I was just curious. We're going to respond to those people a little bit differently, right? So good stuff. All righty. Okay. When a buyer's calls on a property they saw online or driving by. Now, this sounds like it's going to be a great opportunity for you to have a quick sale, but oftentimes, more often than not, it's so they can eliminate the property with a quick call. They want to determine if the house has potential. If it doesn't, they don't have to see it. Eliminate you. Until they are ready to make a move, they want to avoid salespeople. I know that I do that very frequently. I'm just curious. I don't really want to deal with a salesperson. I don't want to meet you. I don't want to have to be in this long conversation. So yeah. So how do you accomplish your goals first? By using scripts that give the buyers the information they are looking for on the property, but at the same time enable you to find out enough about them to demonstrate your value before they eliminate you. Alrighty. National Association of Realtor fact. According to the 2014 NAR profile of home buyers and sellers, 2/3 of all buyers interviewed only one agent. If you can get the appointment for the buyer consultation, you are more than likely get that buyer. Qualify. Use the buyer lead sheet on the next few pages and available in your Ignite toolkit to guide you through the buyer qualification. The buyer lead sheet will help you uncover if the buyer is able, ready, and willing to purchase a home. Establish control in the conversation when a buyer calls by asking questions about price, motivation, location, wants and needs, timeline, finances, and availability. So on this next page, this is the buyer lead sheet. I highly recommend people printing this page out. I just remembered I need to put this in the chat box. So I'm going to put this in the chat box so everybody can go ahead and print this page out at will if they would like to, or just to follow along. So this is a really great lead sheet, frankly. This is a good one if you are talking with internet lead ads, if you have an open house and somebody gives you a call, for referrals, etc. So the buyer lead sheet, it has a date, lead source or property that prompted the call. Was it a for sale sign? Was it an internet marketing? Was it Zillow? Was it whatever it was? You want to get their name, their email address, their street address. So for example, if somebody calls about a property, well, great. Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem giving you that information. But first, can I get some of your contact information? Can I have your full name? Thank you. And great. What's their email address? Awesome. And where do you currently live? Great. Children's names. I don't know if I would ask that one personally. In LA, people might get weirded out. I don't know. in like some small town, maybe they would be okay with giving their kids' names out. I don't know why that's in there. Anyway, home phone number, your cell phone number, your work phone number, your fax. What's the best time to get in touch with you? What times are best? Alrighty. So then we get into the actual buyer consultation pre-qualification questions. Has an agent taken you out and shown you properties, any properties? Yes, no. No, if yes, how's that going? Is there anybody else buying the home with you? That's a very important question. Who will be living with you in the home? Great. So frankly, that children's name section, who will be living with you in the home? Oh, it would be my wife and kids, or my husband and kids. Oh, that's awesome. How many kids do you have? 2. Oh, that's so sweet. What are their names? Oh, one's Elizabeth and one's Joseph. Oh, that's so great. Oh, wow. I love those names. That's so cute. And then you can go ahead and write those in. I think it'd be a little bit weird if you asked that off the bat. Anyway, how long have you been looking for a home? I'm curious, why are you moving? Very important questions. Are you renting or do you own now? Rent or own? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, one thing that I like to do whenever I'm using a lead sheet like this, I will say, awesome, well, great. So let me get some information on you first, just in case I see some other properties that might fit what you're looking for. Let me get your name and your email. Okay, awesome, great. And now, also, where do you currently live right now? Awesome, great. Okay, cool. Awesome. And yeah, so you live over in Culver City, but you're looking at this property, which is in West LA. Is there any reason why you're moving into West LA? Okay, great. Obviously, that's one of the questions over here. Awesome. Well, so now that I have a little bit of information about you and a little bit of a picture that I can see, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. It might seem a little bit like, it might seem like a lot of questions that I'm going to ask you, but it just allows me to help and service you even better. Make sense? Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. And then I would go into these questions. And then eventually they're going to realize that you're a very detail-oriented person. And then they will be more likely to give you all this kind of information. So keep that in mind. Use some scripts that you think would help you get all that info and go after it. Okay, so after we've qualified these buyers and we've gotten some information about them, we're going to put them into 3 groups. They're A buyers, the B buyers, and the C buyers. C buyers are see you later. Okay, A buyers, they are able and ready and willing to purchase. They will be under contract in a matter of weeks. B buyers, they are ready and willing, but not able right now. Something has to happen first, get their existing home under contract, wait for their lease to expire, or get the cash from a tax refund, etc. The C buyers, see you later. They have no immediate need. They may have a very exacting situation. For example, if they can sell their property for a specific price or get a house on a street that they have always loved. Those people are great to put on a 33 touch campaign, which is through our command. And that is a great person to just kind of put on autopilot and follow back with them in a couple months. Okay. So does anybody know the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval? Without looking at the sheet. Does anybody know the differences?
Underwriting.
Bingo. They typically do a DU, a desktop underwriting, which is a little program that they put in some info in, but a little bit more so on the point. A pre-qualification is a preliminary evaluation on how much the buyer can afford to borrow using the initial information from the buyer. A pre-approval is a more involved process in which the lender actually verifies a buyer's income, employment, etc., to evaluate how the buyer can afford to borrow, how much the buyer can afford to borrow. So they're going to be looking at pay stubs. They're going to confirm that they're still employed. They're going to do a credit check, all that fun stuff. And a pre-approval is exactly what we need for our buyers in Los Angeles. No agent will accept an offer unless it's pre-approved. Okay. Explain the benefits of a pre-approval. Alex, if I could have you read this script. And yeah. Oh, I just want to see something. Okay, yeah, here we go.
Mr. Medlitsky, it's important that you are pre-approved for the loan before you begin your home search. Pre-approval is really just a lender's determination of how much money you'll be eligible to borrow. You'll know exactly what price range you can afford. When you find the home you love, you'll be able to take action quickly. Sellers will be more likely to accept an offer from a pre-approved buyer. And finally, you can see if there are any errors on your credit report and you can resolve them right away. Would you like to have one of my lenders call you to help you with your pre-approval? When is the best time?
Perfect. Absolutely. I love it. It's a good one. Knocks it out of the park. Awesome. Okay, 7 critical points in the mortgage process for realtors. There's a clear separation of duties in the home buying and home financing process. The real estate agent controls the former, while the mortgage loan officer handles the latter. However, Robert Griffith, CEO of Primero Home Loans, okay, never heard of him, says that his team has found that a great working relationship between the agent and the loan officer can make the transition go much smoother and avoid unnecessary delays or failures in the closings. Griffith and his team share that there are 7 critical points in the mortgage process for real estate agents to engage. And this is very important. We are not lenders, but we are on the same team as the lender, and we want to work with them. If there's anything that the lender needs, we need to be on top of our clients to make sure that they get it from them. And then also alternatively, if we will need stuff from the lender as well, and we want to work very, very well together. So here are some of the 7 critical points in the mortgage process for realtors. The initial handoff. A great handoff starts with you explaining to your client the advantages of speaking with a talented loan officer up front. Make sure to explain to them that the pre-qualification and pre-approval helps them understand how much they can afford. It will also help them plan for how much down payment they'll need so they can begin making arrangements as early as possible to have those funds ready. The process will help them in a competitive offer situation as well, where sellers will be more likely to choose their pre-qualified offer over a similar offer with someone who isn't. Again, everything will be pre-approved in Los Angeles, period, stop, end of statement. So how is that initial handoff really important? For me, whenever I'm talking with somebody, I give them like 3 options. Oh, no, I'm not pre-approved yet. What do you recommend we do for a pre-approval? Well, frankly, a lot of people like to go to their banking institution, whether it's Bank of America, Chase, Bank of the West, what have you, credit unions that you might be a part of. Those are all great. Sometimes you can get amazing offers, amazing loans. However, sometimes they're a little bit removed because it's a big company. There's not a lot of communication. Sometimes we can have a little issues there, and we do experience delays. I do have 2 private lenders that I highly recommend working with. One of whom is May Shaloub with Movement Mortgage. She's amazing. She's pushed all of my clients' loans all the way through to the end. I've never had an issue with a client not closing. And then plus, her rates are just as competitive, if not better, than Bank of America. The difference from a private lender is they will look at all loan options, for example, from Bank of America, from Chase, from this person, from that person, plus their in-house lending options. Whereas Bank of America only has 1 or 2 products that they can offer their client. So in my opinion, it would be really advantageous for us to maybe even get pre-approved by multiple lenders if you wanted to. But honestly, I highly recommend checking with May Shaloub or possibly another lender that I work with. And by doing that, they feel a little bit more comfortable. They usually choose May, by the way. And then that way I'm working with a lender that I know, like, and I trust. I'm able to confidently say that they're in good hands. And then also, whenever I'm talking with a new buyer, for example, oftentimes what I like to say to somebody who's like, I'm a year away from buying. Great, let's get you pre-approved today so we can determine, are there any things in your credit history that you're going to have to correct? before you can buy? Do you need to save up more money? Do you need to pay off some debts that you have so your debt to income ratio looks better? By working with a qualified lender, they're going to be able to look at your financial picture and help you correct anything that you may need to for the next couple of months. So they really help you set up a game plan, so to speak. All righty. Pre-qualification and pre-approval. If your buyer hasn't started home shopping, or made a firm offer on a home, engage your loan officer to issue a pre-qualification or pre-approval letter. The latter involves an underwriter to review or use of an automated underwriting system, but that's a desktop underwriting, and can move you closer to bulletproofing your transaction. This is very important. Again, nobody accepts an offer in California unless it is pre-approved. Awesome. Expectation setting on the what's, when's, and how's. This is very important. Discuss with your clients on what happens in the pre-approval process, what you need to get into them, when you need to get them, et cetera, et cetera. When we're in escrow, it's going to be very fast-paced. We want to make sure we get all of the documents that the lender asks for in a timely manner. If you have work, you may have to ask your employer for a long lunch one day so you can run to the bank and get your banking statements over to them if you don't have them in a filing cabinet, etc. Make sure they're fully aware of what the process is going to be like. Reinforcing loan requirements to the buyer. There's no denying that tightening in loan investment requirements and the new TILA-RESPA integrated disclosures rules have made the mortgage process more complicated, which makes borrower cooperation more important than ever. Your home buyer will hear this loud and clear from your lender, but it's a good idea for you to reinforce this message by giving your buyer a pep talk, encouraging him or her to be responsive to all information requests, set expectations with the buyer and the lenders. Anyway, point is they're going to be asked for a lot of stuff. They're going to want to see a lot of personal information. Don't worry, that's normal. For a lender, it's like asking for a cup of coffee. It's not a big deal. No one's going to judge you. Just make sure you get everything to them in a timely manner. Unexpected events. Life continues to happen during the mortgage process, which occasionally can change the circumstances of the deal. Again, I had a person who had 2 deaths in the family. It was actually his mom and his dad within a month period of time. Both died. They just dropped dead. It was during the COVID thing. I don't think nobody thinks that it was COVID that they died from, but it was interesting. It was both heart related. They never checked to see if they had COVID, but it was just really unfortunate. They just both dropped dead within a month of each other. No issues before that. Very, very, very sad. It happens. So, a good lender can scramble and find viable loan alternatives, but time is of the essence. So just keep in mind, if somebody changes jobs, if this happens, if that happens, if you're working with a great lender, they may be able to still make it happen. Again, if you're working with Bank of America, you have whatever loan option they gave you, and that's it. If you're working with a private lender, they may have, private money, hard money. They could do a different loan program for them, first-time home buyer. They have all these different options that they can kind of pivot from, and which is why I like my clients to work with a private lender versus a bank, if that makes sense. All righty. Post-approval lockdown. Once your buyer has received a final loan approval, congratulate them, but also tell them that between now and the loan closing is a terrible time to buy a new car, furniture, incur any new debts. Make sure, oh my gosh, let me stress this. Make sure you tell your buyers, don't go to Alex to buy a new Porsche. Don't do it right now. Wait 3 weeks. Once the escrow closes, use that credit card all you want, but do not incur any debts. In fact, before you're going to buy anything, call your lender. Your lender is in charge of your financial life for the next month. Call them before you make any big purchases to see if it's going to affect your credit or anything like that. Loan closing. You gave your loan officer the specifics on the loan closing date and time and address, blah, 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 blah. At some point early in the process, do not forget to update them. be on top of your lender. May is not picking up my calls right now because I bother her too much whenever I'm in escrow. I'm kidding. She's not ignoring me, but she's sending me text messages right now. But my point is I annoy her. I annoy her a lot. I know I do, because I need to make sure everything is happening on time. And I want to be able to communicate effectively with the listing agent whenever I'm representing a buyer. Why is this? I've had situations where my clients are overseas and we have to close an escrow while they're out of the country. And when they're out in Switzerland, the only way that they can close certain documents is if they have it done at the consulate. They have to go to the embassy. And so, for example, a lot of these documents need to be done in person in quote unquote United States soil. So they have to go to embassies. They have to do this. They have to do that. They have to sign loan docs over there. So I need to know exactly what's happening. And I also need to communicate that with the lender. So all very important stuff. Okay. All righty. So getting the appointment. Obviously, when we're working with the A buyers, we want to get them in the car immediately. A B buyer, identify what needs to happen first that can help them achieve their goal, and then mainly put them on an 8x8 touch campaign in addition to any new properties that hit the market through your MLS. The C buyer, manage them electronically by putting them in your database and on an 8x8 touch campaign. If that doesn't work, to get them to move up a little bit more, then put them onto a 33 touch campaign to keep yourself top of mind. Again, you can find these campaigns in Command, but you can also do them manually, just understanding the concept. An 8x8 is talking to them once a week for 8 weeks. 33 touch campaigns is 33 touches in the course of a year. So obviously one's a little bit more intense than the other, but they're all very, very good. And ideally you automate that. So it happens very smoothly without too much interaction with yourself. Okay. Let's go down a little bit further. Let's go down a little bit further. Okay, so buyer consultation. The buyer consultation is a tremendous opportunity to pave the way to an effective long-term relationship with buyers. During your meeting with the buyers, your goals are to delve into their needs, wants, and values for your buyers, showcase your services and educate and set expectations for how you will work together, walk away with the signed agreement, the buyer representation agreement. The buyer consultation is what customers experience is what customer experience is all about. You are devoting your full attention to your buyers, which shows that you care deeply about finding them the right home. You are bringing your complete skill sets to the table, which demonstrates your ability to provide the blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the point is the buyer representation agreement, and trying to get that signed, you do that in the buyer consultation. It's very important. We want to be fully present when we're in that moment. And it's also possibly the most critical point when working with buyers, because it is how you turn your appointments into signed buyer representation agreements. Absolutely, very important stuff. Okay. So in the next couple of pages, it's going in through the buyer agreement, a guide to selling your home, and it's all about them. And this is stuff that you guys and girls can go ahead and review on your own. It is basically a buyer consultation. You can create one of these in Command, or you can frankly print this out and get into a Word document and create your own. But again, I highly recommend going into Command and creating your own. They have very effective ones, and I think that they work beautifully. So keep that in mind. Okay, moving along. But yes, I recommend everybody to go in and take a look at these. And literally it goes over the entire buying process all the way down to closing, what you need for closing and all that fun stuff. And it just makes you seem very competent in front of your buyers, okay? So explain the closing costs using the following scripts. One of the main questions that's gonna come up from a buyer is, what are closing costs? everybody always asks, what are closing costs? So an easy way to do that is to use this script. There's a lot of things. So let me ask you all, what are some things that are included in closing costs?
Escrow fees,
Commission
seller's
splits.
title.
Yep. How about investigations? I would call that part of closing costs. You know, you're going to have to get a contractor to come out and inspect the house. You got to pay them for their time. So there's a lot of different costs that are associated with it. But an easy way to kind of round it up for them, just so they kind of have a mental understanding, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, before we tour homes, let's discuss closing costs. Generally, if you put 20% down on a house, you can expect your closing costs to be an additional 3% of the purchase price. There's points with the lender, by the by, in addition to that. Anyway, 3% of the purchase price. So if you're purchasing a $200,000 house, the down payment would be $40,000 and the closing costs would be an additional $6,000 for a total of $46,000. If you put down less than 20%, your closing costs may be as high as 4%. There are two options for buyers who may not have enough money for closing costs. The options are more likely to work in a buyer's market. Excuse me. Ask the sellers to cover the costs. Ask sellers to help them roll the costs into the loan by paying the costs themselves and raising the price of the home to make up the difference. The sales price will have to be in line with the appraised value to satisfy the lender. Great. Okay. So the guide continues. Frequently asked questions about me. This is a great time to talk about yourself. Above and beyond, yada, yada, yada. Keller Williams Realty goes into Keller Williams and all that fun stuff. Okay, so let's do the fun stuff, everybody. I know that was a little bit of a long drawn out one, but okay. Close for the agreement. You have used the information in the buyer consultation to solidify your position as a knowledgeable professional that will be able to help them find their new home. Now it's time to ask for their buyer's business. Okay, if I could have script number one. Let's see, I've had Alex read a bunch. Anybody want to elect themselves to read? Okay, Pashman, how about you? You there, bud? Going once, going twice. All right. How about Felipe?
Hello.
Hey, there we go. Hey, buddy. Okay, let's do this script. The first one on the page, and I'll be the person you're talking with. So script number one, all I can ask is right there.
I got you. All I ask in exchange for my superior customer service promise is that you agree to work with me exclusively. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, no, that sounds pretty good.
Okay. Can we sign and shake hands on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds pretty good. And then provide the buyer with the buyer representation agreement. Explain it and have them sign it, then shake hands. So after you've done your buyer presentation of everything that you're showing your worth, and by the by, that's why the buyer presentation is very important. You want to show them how knowledgeable you are in the escrow process from start to finish. And at the end of that, you're going to say, all I ask in exchange for my superior customer service promise is that you agree to work with me exclusively. Does that sound fair? Sure. Okay, can we sign and shake on that? Absolutely. Awesome. Here's a buyer representation agreement that just basically says that I'm exclusively going to work on your behalf and that you're agreeing to exclusively work with me as your representative. Sound good? Awesome. Sign over here. Awesome. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, can't wait to work with you. Thank you so much. Let's get after it. Done. All righty. Now, closing the buyer representation agreement number one. Felipe, let's do another one together. Let's do this one right here, the number one.
What we're going to do now is sign the buyer representation agreement, which puts me to work for you. You're giving me the tool I need to represent you in your purchase. With this tool, I have the opportunity to negotiate for you and get you the best deal. And getting the best deal is important to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Perfect. Then let's do the right thing. Sign the buyer representation agreement and pull me to work for you.
Awesome. Sign on the dotted line. I love it. Great. Okay, let's get somebody else to read the last one on the page. Pashman, are you back yet? All good. You're having issues with your mic. I see. Okay, not a problem. Let's see. Who else is somebody? Who haven't we heard from in a little bit?
Hey, Jared,
Yes,
can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Perfect. I don't know. I was connected to my AirPods, but for some reason, I guess the mic on the AirPods weren't working.
All good, my man. All good. So let's do the last one on the page. Closing the buyer representation agreement number 2.
Okay. Can you see how it would benefit you to have a professional looking out for your best interest as you search for the best home and negotiate to get the best deal?
Yeah, I could see why that's important.
Great. This form allows me to represent you and look out for your best interests. Here's how we can take care of that. You just need to okay this agreement right here.
Awesome. Sign right on the dotted line. Great. So yeah, this is a great one personally. So as you can see, it would be benefit to you to have a professional looking out for your best interests, yada, yada, yada. So great. I love that one as well. Okay. If I could have Miriam read this script number 3.
We call this agreement our loyalty agreement, where I agree to be loyal to you and take no action detrimental to your best interest. It's a reciprocal agreement in that I ask you to give me your loyalty in exchange for me working nonstop to find you the best home at the lowest price in the least amount of time.
Beautiful. I'm down to sign that one right on the spot. Let's go. So yeah, my personal favorite out of all 3 of those is the last one. We call this agreement our loyalty agreement, where I agree to be loyal to you and take no action detrimental to your best interests. It's a reciprocal agreement in that I ask you to give me your loyalty in exchange for me working nonstop to find you the best home. I love that one because it's pretty cut and dry. It's right on the surface and it makes sense. So I really like that one personally. I mean, I kind of use the same one, but I have my own like little vernacular that I use. Okay, handling objections to exclusivity. So these ones are when somebody goes, I'm not working with somebody exclusively. So this one comes up more often than not, admittedly. So Shannon Schuster, if I could have you handle the first one.
Sure. Mr. Buyer, because of the level of service I provide, I can only work with buyers who work exclusively with me. Let me remind you that by signing, you are not agreeing to pay me a fee. You're agreeing to have me represent your best interests and to use my knowledge and expertise to find you the best home and the best price. That is what you want, isn't it? To find the best home for the best price?
I guess you have a point there, Shannon. Let me sign that thing then. And yeah, so a lot of times people think that, wait a second, I don't want to work with you. What if I don't want to pay your fee? They're not. In fact, the seller is going to be paying the agent the fee. So it's not agreeing to any type of form of payment. It's just saying, hey, I agree to work with you. You agree to work with me, and we both have each other's back. So that's a great one as well. Objection handling number 1, objection 1, I don't want to sign anything. I want to be free to work with other agents. Ooh, now that's a tough one over there. Who wants to read this one?
I can go.
Awesome.
All right. Well, when you engage me as a real estate sales representative, you give me the tools I need to represent you, Jared. If you sign this buyer representation agreement with me, I am contractually obligated to share any information about the seller situation that I find out. For example, if it's a divorce, a relocation, or an estate sale. Without this agreement in place, I am actually a subagent to the seller. That means that I do not represent you and I cannot share information with you. I want to be your advocate, not theirs. So let's do the right thing and sign this buyer representation agreement today.
Whoa, damn. That's a pretty good one. I like it. Now, it does have a little asterisk. Ask your team leader whether your state has sub-agency, dual agency, and or designated agency. And I believe we do here, but even if we didn't, I still love that one. So use it anyway, so to speak. So yeah, that's a great one. Remind them that technically speaking, and this is actually true, we are a sub-agent of the listing agent. We are cooperating with that agent, and it is their listing, and it is the sellers who are actually paying our commission. So by using this, you're actually letting them know that we want to be contractually obligated to let them know any information that we're able to find on that. So very important. That's a good one. Objection 2, what if I change my mind during the 30-day period? Let's see. Let's get somebody. Here, Shannon, I feel like I haven't picked it on you a lot in this class, so I'm going to pick you again.
Sure, that's fine. I understand completely. Think of this agreement as a form of going steady, not marriage. If you decide at any time that you do not want to be steady anymore, we can just break up. There's no need for a divorce. And you can break up with me if I'm not meeting your expectations. If you feel comfortable with that, you can just okay the agreement with your initials.
Yeah, it's no big deal. It's just a piece of paper. We're not contractually obligated to stay with each other for the entirety of you looking for a home. And that kind of brings a lot of the pressure off. Now, again, remember I said in the beginning of the class that, enforcing buyer representation agreements are a little bit difficult because you would typically have to get a lawyer involved. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You can get out of a buyer representation agreement fairly easily, and it could be done with something as simple as an email just stating, I no longer want you to be representing me as, your buyer's agent or whatever. And technically speaking, if they took that to a court, that probably would hold up. So really, by signing this, it's almost ceremonial, but it does kind of keep people a little bit more honest in their dealings with you, because I've worked with buyers who I thought were very, very loyal to me. And, we had a situation, and I remember this to this day. I showed them probably 20 different properties. Oh my God, it drove me nuts. And finally, we were about to get an escrow into one. And the son was the person who was going to be, what am I looking for? He was paying for the parents to move. And the son, so while I'm working with his parents looking at houses, the son was who I had to talk to when it came to writing the offer. Anyway, we had the person who owned the property agree to a certain price. Let's call it, I don't know, $1,002,000. Right? So $1,002,000 was our offer. And they said, great, we accept. And all we had to do was have them sign. And all of a sudden, he didn't want to sign because we were in a multiple offer situation, and they did a counter. And then he said, "Whoa, no! I don't want to sign. I actually want it for $2,000 less. I want it for $1 million flat." And I'm like, let me remind you, you are going to blow this deal up for $2,000. You originally offered this. Now you're going to rescind it. If I go back to this person and I say, you know what, we thought about it. We no longer want to offer the extra $2,000 on top. We want to do it for $1 million flat. If that happened to you, wouldn't you be offended and felt like we were wasting their time? He said, I don't care. He said, I don't know how to negotiate. And I said, excuse me, I don't think you know how to negotiate, because nobody would do that. You don't offer something and then take it back when they agree to it. Anyway, so long story short, we didn't get into an argument. I eventually, tried to do what he said, and the person did exactly what I expected them to do. And they said, screw you. We're going to go with the person who's $5,000 less than you, because we feel that they're not going to cause any waves in the escrow. And I explained this to their son, and I said, listen, if I was the listing agent, I would say, listen, I know that this other person who offered this is $5,000 less, but I'm going to recommend you go with them because they're not going to change stuff up in the middle of escrow. Because if you're already starting before we're even in contract with changes and takebacks and this and that, what do you think is going to happen when we're doing the investigation process? What do you think is going to happen when we're about to close? Like, they're just going to cause problems in this. Let's take the one that's $5,000 less, who's not creating issues, and screw this person. Well, great. So we didn't even get into escrow. And then the son was so upset that I wasn't able to negotiate an additional $2,000 off. He went around me and wrote an offer through another agent for, I think it was $8,000 more. And they ended up going back into escrow. So my point is yeah, it happens. Anyway. Okay. Objection number 3, I don't need to work with an agent because I can find a home on my own through the internet. Who wants to do that one? Okay, I'll do it. Okay, so searching for homes is a fun part. We will certainly use the internet to find your home. Finding your dream home is not why you hire me as an agent. You hire me as an agent to help you get the house that you want. My job is to protect your interests throughout the home buying process and negotiate on your behalf to get the best price and terms. So I use this actually for a couple different reasons. So for example, has anybody, I don't know if there's any agents here who've ever run into this. I've had an agent come up, a buyer come up to me and say, you know, Jared, I found this property on Zillow, but you didn't send it to me. So I think I'm just going to go write an offer with the listing agent. What would you say to that? The script. And it actually works. I go, well, excuse me, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you know, I have a search criteria set up based on what we've discussed. You said that you wanted something in Beverly Hills and you wanted something in this place is in the Valley. I didn't know you were looking in the Valley. But since you mentioned this, it's not up to me to tell you where you should live. Only you are going to know what you like. So frankly, I could send you all the homes that are on the market right now in the Los Angeles area. But frankly, it's going to be ultimately up to you who decides which house you want to write an offer on. You don't need me to tell you what your dream home is. You know that. But what you do need me for is to negotiate on your behalf, look after your best interests, and ensure that you are not getting any unsavory or unfair terms in a contract when we're in the escrow process. Does that make sense? And, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then we work together still. But yeah, this happens all the time. People think that it's like House Hunters International on HGTV, if anybody knows that show. And it's like, oh, well, aren't you supposed to give me like 3 houses that I can buy and then I make a choice? No, that's not how it works. How it works is that I will be looking for houses. You'll be looking for houses, certainly. And in fact, more often than not, you'll be the person who finds the house before me because you know what your personal taste and style is. So when you see that property, send it to me right away so then I can set up an appointment for you. And then when we're in the escrow process, I'll look after your best interests. Make sense? And they go, oh, absolutely, makes sense. Great. And sometimes I'll even say, listen, with everything like Zillow and Redfin and Trulia and all that kind of fun stuff out, it's like everybody is able to look at every single home that's on the market. They're likely to be no different than the houses that I send you on my MLS search. And I hate to say it, but most people prefer to use Zillow. And if that's the case for you, I have no problem with that. Just make sure you send me over any property that you happen to like. I'll go ahead to confirm that it's still on the market through the MLS, because sometimes Zillow is a little bit off. And if it is, we'll go ahead and set up an appointment. Sound good? Sounds great. And then we work from there. In fact, I actually love Zillow and Trulia and all those things because it makes my job easier. I don't really particularly like sending clients houses all the time and searching through properties for the 8 buyers that I have right now. It's just too much time on my hands, and I don't, I like to live my own life. But frankly, they send me a lot of the times, they'll send me the property that they like, and I go ahead and I set up the appointments for them. Because frankly, they don't need the agent to tell them what they like. Alrighty. Know when to let a buyer go. Who's had a very frustrating buyer experience recently? Miriam, I think you have that guy who wrote you on the internet.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right. Okay. So let's read this last one. Eventually we need to know when we need to let somebody go. So let's go ahead and read this last script.
Mr. Nick, I appreciate your decision since I can only work with buyers who work exclusively with me. I'll have to just wish you luck in your home search. Thanks again for coming in to meet with me today, and let me know if you change your mind. Sorry.
Perfect. And sometimes by taking it away from them, they'll go, wait, no, I'll sign. I want to work with you. Because I hate to say it, but us realtors have gotten a reputation, excuse me, for just being, unsavory salespeople. Yes, we are salespeople, but we are also fiduciaries. And a fiduciary is always going to be looking after their client's best interest, not their bottom line. So we are different in that respect. Not to pick on Alex or anything, I don't believe people who sell cars are fiduciaries. They are flat out salespeople. They are looking to make a sale, and that is it. They don't have to necessarily look after the best interest of the person. And Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, if I am wrong. But
No, that's true.
Yeah,
I'm not a fiduciary. I'm representing only the dealership.
Yep. So now that we are fiduciaries as real estate agents, we're very different. We are looking after their best interests. And so a lot of times, more often than not, people don't realize that, and they come into the discussion with their gloves on. They're like, I know what's going to happen. They're going to convince me to do something, so I got to fight back. And they don't, because we're not trying to convince them to do anything that they don't want to do. We're just trying to make it so we can get their goal and make it a reality. That's our job. And so by using this script, it oftentimes will get somebody to go, well, wait a second, don't you want me? No. If it's not going to work, then it's not going to work. That's okay. I would love to work with you if you decide to work exclusively with me, because I'm going to be working as your fiduciary. But if you don't want that, that's fine. And I wish you good luck. And then just by saying that, they may turn their tune and go ahead and sign that contract. Okay. So we are about done with today. So yeah, this goes over the needs analysis. This is also important for you guys to take a look at. Oh, sorry, we have one more video. I apologize. So after this video, we will be done for the day, and I'll stay on for a couple more minutes if anybody has any questions. But other than that, I think this is a good place for us to leave off. So buyer's needs analysis is the last video for today's class. Let me get into that real quick. And then after this, we can stop and have a little quick convo before we leave. But other than that, we are done for the day. All right.
Needs analysis, the systematic process of collecting information about needs, wants, and desires that is used to establish and define goals. Step 2 of the buyer consultation is the needs analysis. Only when you understand what is ultimately important to your customers can you deliver it. Many agents ask their clients, "What do you want in a house?" and stop there. They don't realize the answer to that question isn't the same as "What do you need?" or "What's important to you?" Determining your customer's core wants, needs, and values is a process. Draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper and write needs on the left and wants on the right, and use it to track their needs and wants as you go through this process. At this point, you will have a clear understanding of what buyers need versus what they want, but you are not done. Now, you want to drill down and uncover their values by finding out why they need and want what they do. Use this question: what about blank is important to you? Let's see how it works. Say your buyer has told you that they want or need a large yard. You say,
"So what's about a large yard that's important to you?"
Your buyer says, "I like to garden." You ask,
"You like gardening, and what's important about gardening?"
Your buyer says, "I like to spend time outdoors. It helps me relax." You ask,
makes you feel relaxed? And what's important about being relaxed?
Your buyer says, when I'm relaxed, I can spend more quality time with my wife. Bullseye. A large yard equals family. At this point, you have uncovered a value. You can now look for other ways it applies to your buyer.
A large yard is important because it allows you to spend quality time with your wife, correct? So what else about your new home would be important to you in terms of spending more time with your wife?
All righty. So very important stuff there. You want to figure out what their buying motivation is and what's really important to them. And a lot of these things will come up like throughout the course of looking at homes with them. But you'd be surprised, sometimes those needs change. Sometimes they'll go like, I want an open floor plan. And you show them all these homes that have these open floor plans, but they end up going, I really love this home because it has an enclosed dining room. Okay, so that's not what you said before, but an enclosed dining room is very important, or a way that you can, close off like an area for a traditional dining room. And once you find that out, you may find out that, oh yeah, I really like an enclosed dining room. So if I ever have a dinner party, I have a designated place for that, etc. So we'll definitely find out a lot of that stuff through our buyer's needs analysis. Are there any questions before we break for today? If you have to go, feel free to jump off right now. No worries to wait. But if anybody does have any questions, feel free to ask them now.
We were going to talk about my listing appointment.
Oh, yes, that's true. We were going to talk about that. Okay, so your listing appointment. The house that was for sale, or sorry, excuse me, that you met with the lady, how, instead of just going onto the internet, let's have a convo about it. What did it look like in comparison to the comps?
It looked good. It needed some minor repairs, minor renovations. Kitchen had old appliances, could use some carpet, but it's not too unusual for the neighborhood and recent listings. It looks like there were a few that sold for more money that looked totally renovated, however.
Mm-hmm. Were you able to show, and I'm assuming she was focused on those houses that sold for that amount?
That's correct.
And were you able to show her pictures of those houses?
I was, and she had a lot of rebuttals like, well, I put in new countertops, I put in a new bathroom, but I would just say the quality of the renovation wasn't equal.
Okay. What was that apparent, would you say, in the pictures?
Apparent to me. I this is my first listing appointment and it's a family friend, and I didn't know how hard I'm supposed to drive that home.
Yeah, I understand that. So that does happen. Now, usually I'm able to show them, out of curiosity, do the homes look very similar from the curb as hers?
Identical. It's a condominium community, so exterior maintenance is all included.
Gotcha. Okay. So really the only thing we have to go off of is the interior of the units themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. And the layouts are probably very similar, if
identical floor plan on that one. Yeah.
Okay. And when she did all new countertops and new appliances or whatever, was it recently or was it 10 years ago?
So she put in a new bathroom and new kitchen counters right after she bought the home, which was 7 years ago.
Okay, so there we go. That's what I would probably bang on with her. I would say, ma'am, I agree. You did put in a new kitchen and you did put in new countertops 7 years ago. These homes were renovated within the last couple of years, year or two. And you might want to actually bring up that data, maybe bring up the sales data of when the houses were originally purchased and how it looked then versus how it looks now. and then to be able to go, see how these look totally different?
So I would say that the difference between the homes is less so the age of the renovation and more the quality of the work and materials. She was very proud of some DIY things she did in the bathroom that I quite honestly looked horrible. But I mean, she's just pointing out, this medicine cabinet that she DIY made herself and painted it with, copper color spray paint, and she hasn't put the glass front in it yet or the shelves in it yet, and it's got runs, and it just looks totally out of place in the bathroom. But I mean, she's really proud of it. I don't know how. So I mean, I just kind of glossed over it, and I thought the best strategy, because she didn't seem insanely out of step with the average values. I thought maybe the best strategy would be hope between now and the time she actually wants to list, she is more in line with the value, and also have a discussion about future price reductions.
Yes. So I think what I would, yes. Now, sometimes you are just not going to be able to come to reason with some sellers. Some sellers are just going to be like, my amazing do-it-yourself medicine cabinet makes my house worth $20,000 more or $100,000 more. Fine. If that's really what they believe, that's what they believe. It's not really up to us to change that, that mindset. But I would say, great. So you feel that your house is worth X, Y, and Z, correct? Correct. Awesome. I would love to sell it for that. For me, it would be better for me to sell it at that price point. However, if it does not sell within the first 3 weeks, can we agree? And then I would basically go to days on market with the other properties. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I would say, okay, well, great. So let's look at days on market for the averages in your community. And did you look at that? Do you remember like days on market averages or?
Yeah, the ones that sell pretty quickly, and then there are ones that have been priced. So that I think is another thing that has her thinking a little higher, is she's looking at active listings rather than sold listings for the most part.
Yeah.
And there are some that are just really mispriced, where they've just had to make massive reductions. Like I was saying, this is a condominium community with a land lease, and it looks like a 15-year loan term is probably the max in the community right now. So I don't know if it's inexperienced people who are taking these listings, or people who are just not being honest with the sellers, or if people are doing what I'm potentially going to do, but to an extreme level, and just letting the seller call the shots on pricing.
So
But
before we get ahead of ourselves, real quick, the average days on market. First of all, did you show her active listings or sold listings only, or a combination of both?
I did a combination of both.
Okay, so just so you know, and that's okay. I never show active listings in my comparative market analysis, because they're not pertinent. They are important when we come to a pricing agreement strategy, but they're not important in terms of what are we actually going to sell it for. I only focus on sold listings. So then when they bring up active, I go, well, that's great, but how many days on market is that property been? Oh, 40 days, great. These properties that sold, once they brought it down to an appropriate price, or when it was originally priced appropriately, it only took them a week to sell. Make sense? And so I like them to focus on that.
Okay.
So for example, if I have a condominium and the average days on market for an appropriately priced property is 2 weeks, and those properties show that they went over asking, I'm going to use those as my comps. I'm going to say, hey, listen, so this property was on the market for 2 weeks. It was priced about 2 to 3% below market value. It ended up selling for above market value. and actually more than what they listed it for. And it was only on the market for 2 weeks. Now, this other property that sold was on the market previously for 40 days, but then they had a price correction, and then it was only on the market for 2 weeks. So what I want to point out to you, Mrs. Seller, is that if you overprice the property, it is likely going to sit on the market for a very long time. For example, you had mentioned that these properties that are on the market right now for, $20,000 more have been sitting on the market for the last 30 days. Do you think that they're going to eventually reduce the price and then sell, or do you think they're going to keep it where it is? And then they're going to go, oh, they're probably going to reduce it. Yeah. So let's not look at what's on the market right now. Let's focus on what is actually sold. And then let's come to an agreement of how much we feel that your house is worth based on the actual sold data, because that's real data. Active, market data is just hopeful, wishful thinking. It's just, it's not anything that we can count on because there hasn't been a recorded event. That's just wishful thinking right now. So if we look at and we only focus on the sold data, then we're able to determine what is real, what is obtainable, what is tangible. This is something that we can actually work with here. So let's focus on the sold data, and the sold data shows that everything is sold within this price range. Now, the ones that have sold on the higher price range on the sold data, are updated and, have been updated, very recently, and it has done expert craftsmanship. And then the other stuff that has not, that has also sold recently on the lower end has, this type of stuff. Which property do you think best mirrors your home? And then have her pick which of the solds, which one is most similar to hers. And maybe even hide the prices. Be like, let's not look at the prices. Which house do you feel represents your house the most that has sold? And if she picks one, show her the price. Be like, this is what it sold for. So would you agree that your house is worse, equal, or better than this property? And then she says, well, I think it's equal. I'm like, okay. So just out of curiosity, let's look at the other one that sold for the most. Do you think your property is equal, is worse, or better than this property? And if she goes equal or worse, which is probably what's going to happen, then you can kind of push on that. But again, if she's not going to budge and she just really wants to list it for a slightly higher price, ask her, then great. We've noticed that anything that was priced within, the appropriate range has only been on the market for 2 weeks. If this house stays on the market for 2 weeks, can we come back to the table and have a discussion about pricing strategies? And then do it that way. But unfortunately, I think you're right. You might have to just take the listing, so you have it in contract. Do everything that you can as far as putting it on the MLS. Post some stuff on social media. I wouldn't put too much money into it, frankly. Just do a lot of the free advertising that you can get through the MLS and social media and stuff like that. If you get somebody who's going to offer the price that she wants, mazel tov to you, congratulations. But if she doesn't, and within a certain amount of time, just say, hey, listen, we haven't received any, offers. Let's talk about price. And then she goes, well, what do you mean? I'll be like, well, the only things that we can control is what? Price and condition. Yeah. So those are really her only two options. So I think, unfortunately, Alex, you just have one of those sellers who are very confident in their own property, and that's okay. But one thing that I would say is I would go back, and when you do talk with her again, only bring the sold data, and tell her, listen, I'd like us to focus, on the sold data, not what's on the market. Let's focus on what's sold. And then she goes, well, why? That's our competition. You're like, great. So do you want to price yourself below the competition so you get it sold?
Well, unfortunately, I think she's being a little more unrealistic than you realize, because the closest comp that's active right now is priced at $389, and she wants to list hers at $420.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got a referral right now for $1 million Orange County. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, she's a family friend. You're gonna probably take the listing anyway, and I think you should. Um, just keep in mind that, you know, this is not going to be a sledgehammer. This is going to be an ice pick. You know, you're just going to chisel away slowly but surely, and eventually she'll probably see reason. Unfortunately, she's going through chemo. She's going through a couple of, you know, life events. There's going to be, and listen, everybody, I don't mean to be this guy, but there are going to be costs that are going to be incurring. She's going to need to sell, unfortunately. And you know, I hope that she, you know, gets better, and I'm sure she will. But eventually there is going to have a moment where she has to have the, you know, rational conversation with herself. Okay, what do we have to do to get this place sold? And, you know, in the meantime, you know, do everything that you should be doing as an agent. Represent it as proud and confident as you can. And, you know, just put it into the world. Just be like, listen, let's go ahead and list it for what you feel it's worth. I'm going to be honest, I do think that it probably is a little bit overpriced, but you know what? Hey, you never know until you try. So I'm willing to make that effort with you. I'm happy to try and get you as much money as possible. But can I ask you this? Have you ever heard of the concept of creating a bidding war? And if she says yes, that might be your way in to get her to come down a little bit, and just say, well, listen, you've been looking at the comps in the market, homes that are on the market right now at these prices. Can we at least come in below them so we are competitive? That might work. You know, try to find different angles to work it. Again, for these types of clients, there are no silver bullets, unfortunately. It's usually just, I hate to say it, a lot of times clients just need to feel pain. They need to kind of simmer in that decision that they made to be, you know, headstrong and whatever. And when they realize it's not working, you know, you want to have it on record that you said, hey, listen, I said that I thought this was a little bit overpriced, you know, and then that way you don't, you know, get kicked off of the listing. So the issue is with a lot of the other agents in that condominium complex, if they are doing what I think they're doing, it's a horrible way to do business, because I could walk down the street and probably get 10 listings if I tell everybody who has $1 million house that they can sell at 1.5. You know, I can do it. Believe me, you all can do it. But what's going to happen when it doesn't sell at 1.5? They're eventually going to say, you're not doing your job right. You're not marketing it right. You're not doing this right. And let's say I am marketing it right. I'll show them all the marketing that I've done, and I've spent thousands of dollars marketing it. But what's going to end up happening? They're going to tell me to go kick rocks, that you just lied to me to get my listing. Now you want me to reduce it by this much. I'm not selling. I'm staying right here. Go away. And I'll get fired off of the listing. I'm 2,000 or 3,000 in the hole for marketing. And that was just an exercise. So I have no problem taking an overpriced listing as long as I'm not putting too much of my own dollar spend into advertising it, which doesn't mean you're doing her a disservice by any means. More than likely or not, you're going to get the place sold because of the MLS, not your advertising. For example, there's a property in downtown LA that I'm on a sales team with. We have like a mini partnership with Cindy Chen over in I think it's a Newport office, or one of the offices anyway. And I'm not the listing agent on it. I'm just representing, you know, as their preferred buyer agent or whatever. So if they get a lead, they call me and I go show them the property. I get, you know, 25% of their commission if they have an agent. If I represent them, I get the full commission. So it's a win-win situation. But anyway, my point is, you know, I'm marketing the property myself. I'm not getting any calls for that. But what I am getting is a lot of my friends and family hitting me up going, hey, that's an awesome video you just made. I'd love to find a house. I'm not looking in that area, but, you know, let's work together. Great. I'm using it as getting lead generation. Marketing on Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff is really more of a lead generation activity than actually marketing the property itself. So what you do in the MLS is going to be more than enough for that client. And if you don't get enough, traction on it, then you have to have that conversation about reducing in price. But make sure you've at least said that, hey, I do believe this is the fair market value, but if you want to try your number, I have no problem doing that. And in fact, if we do sell it at that price, I'm going to be even just as happy as you are. And, just make sure that she knows that you think that it might need to come down a little bit. Right? Dude,
Makes sense.
Yeah, go get it. I think you should get it. It'd be great. Awesome. All righty. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes. What's up?
Are you going to the Red Day tomorrow?
I should be. I didn't sign up yet. I want to. I think I want to. Yes, I want to. Hold on. What time is the Red Day thing?
It's at 10.
They sent an email saying it's all booked up.
Oh, it is? So no.
I asked Alfredo yesterday and he kind of squeezed me in, but I'm sure it won't hurt to ask one more time. Maybe it might be possible.
Oh yeah, it's all filled up. So no, I don't think I'm going to the Red Day, unfortunately. But I'll call Alfredo. I'll see. That sounded fun. That should be a lot of fun. The Red Days are awesome. I love doing that. That's great. And I actually think I might. No, I'm open. So yeah, let me go call them and see if I can get in on that. So no, unfortunately, I'm not signed up for it though. No. 50-50.
Well, if anyone's going, I'll see you there.
Awesome. Good stuff. Any other questions before we go? Cool. Everybody, thank you so much. You've been great. Alex, go get that listing. I know you will. That's going to be awesome. Albert, hopefully I see you at Red Day. I don't think I will though. Everybody else, thank you so much and have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Cheers. Bye.